Yeah, that's what I'm trying to do. Oh, wait. Oh, I'm so proud of myself. And Brandon's not even awake to see this.
You did it, girl. Yes.
Okay, is the Discord?
Just Discord with the list at the side. So, everyone got the hiccup. I won't get myself the hiccups. So, I would just like to welcome you, everybody. Thank you very much for joining us. In particular, thank you very much to our panelists who have agreed to join us. We have with us Lynn Stahl from Metalhead Minis, Geoff Davis from Hecatina Miniature Painting Studio, Andrew Pieper, better known as Talespinner, and Brice Cocanour, I hope I said that right, it'll be interesting, who was also known as the Little Coconut on Pokemon for all of you Pokemon enthusiasts out there. And he was kind of we're keeping with the whole pirate theme of ReaperCon Live, and he was shanghaied at the last moment.
Yeah, we made him do it. We totally made him do it.
See? I mean, you can't argue, it's official. So, we will start with the lady of the group, Lynn Stahl. She will introduce herself and tell you a little bit about herself, and then we will go around the group.
Okay, so since you already told me and my company, oh, okay, I got an idea. Okay, because I was going to say, well, what would you like to know? But now, okay. So I'm Lynn Stahl of Metalhead Minis. Metalhead Minis has been around since 2009. I've been painting since 1997, and I'm originally from New York City, and I currently live in San Antonio, Texas.
Let us. Now we have Geoff Davis.
Oh. You're on mute, Geoff.
Just mute yourself in the panel. Wrong person.
I will sign language this.
Draw some pictures.
Hello again. Let's start the audio one more time. This is clicking the mute button. So yeah, hi, Geoff Davis. I work at the Hecatina Miniature Painting Studio.
Brice.
Here in my studio in Halifax, Nova Scotia. I started painting miniatures as a kid in 1979, and of all the hobbies I've had over the years, it's the one I kept. And I like to say that the first 38 or 39 years don't count. And I retired a couple of years ago, and I made miniature painting my full-time. It's what I do all day, every day. And yeah, that's pretty much me.
Oh my God, he's living the dream. Then we have Andrew Pieper.
Hello, I'm Andy. Often known as Talespinner. I've been playing. I got into gaming back in 1981 when I was a young little whippersnapper, and picked up my first miniature and started painting in about 1990 when I was in college. I am a full-time information analyst for the outdoor power equipment industry, but on the side, I got really into painting over the course of the 90s and the 2000s. Actually got halfway decent in the 2000s and started doing a lot of contests, started doing a lot of sculpting for my pieces, and started like, wonder if I can do this. So 2010, I picked up a bunch of green stuff, took a couple classes, and started sculpting, and I haven't looked back since. So I primarily sculpt these days. I did my first sculpt for Reaper in 2010, 2011. And I primarily work for Reaper and Darksword. I'm at Darksword Studio Sculpt at this point, doing a lot of fixes and stuff for them and printing for them. I do the dog line for Darksword, and for Reaper, I pitch hit because I am a full-time in another occupation. But so when they need creatures and monsters and tables and furniture and stuff, that's typically what I do. Got into ZBrush last year. Also on the side, my wife and I run a charity where we create, either buy or make rings for Haitian brides to ensure that, because in the culture of Haiti, they won't get married until they can afford a ring. So we provide them with those rings so families can stay together and get married and stuff. So
wow.
That's a big focus for my wife and I is, so I actually big accomplishment this year is I made my my soon-to-be daughter-in-law's engagement ring. So, cast my first gold casting that I did in set a big stone and all that. It was pretty fun. So, sculpted that in ZBrush too. So, that's me. Up to date.
Well, Geoff, it'd be really cool. Andrew, it'd be really awesome if you could actually maybe provide the details so we could post that up in case somebody wants to maybe make a donation or something.
Yeah, I like that idea.
At this point, it's just my wife and I. It's not really a real charity. We do it through our church. Our church has a sister parish in Haiti, and they asked for rings. They came to our church and asked for rings. My wife she goes to estate sales, buys a lot of old jewelry, vintage jewelry and stuff, and she's got all the testing equipment. I've become a jeweler, as you can see behind me. That's a Lost Wax casting system back there. So I can do all my own casting and stuff. And it just kind of evolved. We don't really have it set up as a charity. Someday we would like to get to a point where I create rings for people here, and when you buy a ring from me, I make the same ring, and one goes for bride in Haiti. So that, So, but that's like when my career's done and I paid for college for the kids and that kind of thing. So I'm working on my skills at this point. So we're not really ready for things like that. But at this point in time, we work through our church, and my wife was getting so many rings for them. I think she's supplying them with a couple hundred a year at this point. That they're going to, that they actually started working with the Bishop of Haiti, and they're going throughout the whole island now. So that's pretty exciting for us.
I love that.
That's amazing, because, well, Haiti is a very religious country, and that sort of thing it's actually very important, and I think that's amazing.
Thank you.
So, to our last guest, who was not actually originally on the dock, as we say, he was kind of shanghaied. Well, basically,
we said so we can cut the ropes off.
We totally did.
We had 3 panelists in there, and he's like, "Oh, look, my friends are hanging out in there." Came in with the camera, and he was told that he was now part of the panel. So that's how Shanghaiing a panelist works, in case anybody wants to try that in the future. So, Brice, would you like to introduce yourself and tell us a bit about yourself, please?
Sure, thank you. Teach me to click on something here, I guess. Anyways, I'm Brice Cocanour. I'm a mechanical engineer. I now work in the heating and air conditioning field, and we sell air conditioning accessories. I started off in engineering, designing things, and then I moved on to sales. So sales guys make more money, so that's where I'm at.
Oh, that's awesome.
But I work with other engineers, so it's a very good fit. I started with miniatures in...
I know, I noticed that too. Hold on, Wavy, I'm going to see if I can get it to go up.
So I started in 84 and ended up getting into competitions, and then just went into more competition painting, and there wasn't models that I wanted, so I did work a lot to learn how to sculpt things or make things that I wanted, and I practically can't touch a model without changing it. So
I'm trying to move things around, hold on.
I also, painting stuff is more of a hobby. Some of the other things I do is I'm part of a scout troop, and I've been a scoutmaster and things like that for many years.
Nice.
And I'm also a bishop at my church. And then I also teach pole vault. I'm a coach at the high school. So I have lots of varied things that I've done.
Right on.
I'm flabbergasted. I'm not often without words. Anybody who knows me can verify I'm very rarely speechless. So, I mean, everybody knows the idea of a panel. I will ask our guests questions. The audience is encouraged to ask questions as well. Throw them up on Facebook, Twitch, or in the Discord server. If you're wherever you are, I will address that. So, I'm going to ask the first one. This was actually quite a popular one with another panel. We all have our guilty pleasures. You know, that meal or that snack. You know, we shouldn't really eat it, but we all like to. What guilty pleasure in the way of food do you guys have? I never said every question was going to be about the hobby. I never said it was all going to be about the hobby. Oh.
I'm a Scotch, and I like fine Scotches and tequilas. So I typically have a shot in the evening before bed. I really like Scotch and tequila. I actually have a little bit more down here for ReaperCon than I would normally have, but so I'm into white tequilas.
That's every con.
Yeah. Well, I did have to also buy. I had to get the Kraken. So yeah, this looks really bad that I have it all like right within reach. Normally it's upstairs. Right.
See it so nobody can even verify it. And what about you, Brice? What is your guilty pleasure in the way of a meal or a snack?
I think I like really good food, and so I get to travel for work. So I've got the Colorado West for the States, and so then whenever I go anywhere, I'm always asking all my customers where all the favorite local places are, and I have a whole list of every location of all the best restaurants that they're just sort of holes in the walls, and
awesome.
So
you're a real connoisseur of local places. So everybody, audience, you heard that. If you need some hints and tricks of places to go, you got to go hit Brice up for some suggestions there. What about you, Lynn? What's your guilty pleasure?
I've been strict keto for like 2.5 years, so I don't eat anything. Thank you for the follow, Lord Drazius. I haven't eaten anything I'm not honestly supposed to, because now I get sick because my body can't process it anymore. But in the realm of keto, if there's something that I do have a guilty pleasure with, is eating those Rebel ice cream pints.
Oh yeah.
It's really good.
you said pint.
Shit. Hey, Pringles has a famous slogan, once you pop, you can't stop, but let's be honest, it's not just Pringles.
Yeah, no, it's that Rebel ice cream, man. It's so good. It's just, oh my God. But yeah, I eat the whole thing. Oh, and the Lily's, the milk chocolate chips. I could eat a whole bag of those if you leave me alone. Yeah, I'm sorry, Aragon. What happened was I cut off one of the mics because I thought that my mic was feeding back and repeating. I'm sorry about that. So.
That leaves you.
Yeah, that's the most dangerous question you could have asked me. I have a lot of guilty pleasures when it comes to that stuff. My family's vegetarian, but I'm not. And there's an A&W about a block from here, so every time I get in the car, it's hard not to head straight to the drive-through. And it's something that used to walk. But, my worst thing for that is actually baking cookies. My mother drops in the studio all the time to say hi, and God love her, but she often has that can of fresh baked gingerbread cookies or whatever in her hand, and usually by the time she's gone, 45 minutes later, so are the cookies. And there's guilt.
Nothing wrong with those guilty pleasures.
Amen.
So we have the first questions coming from our audience.
Uh-oh.
Blue liner, blessing or curse?
Blue liner?
Blue liner?
Yes. Is it a blessing or is it a curse?
Blessing.
Yeah, amazing.
Blessing. It's amazing. I love it.
There isn't a miniature I paint that doesn't have blue or brown liner on it. Yeah, I know. Mine's like probably right. I got brown right there.
So that makes me the radical in the group. I've got all three of those liners sitting right here on my table. I've opened them each once, squirted some on a figure once, and kind of never looked back. I am not addicted to the liners, so neither a blessing or a curse to me. If they suddenly fell off the table into the round bin, I wouldn't notice.
Have you tried mixing it with something?
I vaguely recall using the brown liner mixed in with black and stuff like that back in the day.
Yeah, blue liner and brown liner are the best black. You put equal portions. They're the best eye color, eye black pupil dot you'll ever find, and they're amazing. It gives you a nice depth black that isn't that isn't just black, you know, but it really works well. Man, I tell you, I use those two paints. I don't paint that often, but I go through those more often than anything else because I'm also using to prime brown or blue liner, prime every Bones miniature before I paint it. That's my primer. Just because it sticks so hard. I once put it on a miniature that I was doing for competition, and I wanted to bust the shield up a little bit to make it look like it was used. I couldn't scrape the paint off with a hobby knife. It was stuck to that brown liner so hard. So, I mean, the stuff is crazy on Bones, especially if you don't put it on too thick the first layer. If you just get it so it stains the miniature, it's the best best primer for Bones you can find.
Actually awesome. Okay, the next question is, what is the most challenging aspect of the hobby for you? I mean, I gather for you, Talespinner, you could actually do your sculpting and such. I mean, each of you could pick from there what you guys want to, what hobby in this area you want to use. What is the most...
For me, it's actual time to hobby. That's my problem.
I think a lot of people in our audience would be sympathetic with that one.
Mm-hmm. I would agree with that. Time and times when you see people being ugly to each other about differences in opinion on products, or if someone paints something and they just started and then you see people be all ugly, you know, certain people be ugly to that person. Like, I have a very hard time with that. Also, Nanja, thank you so much for the follow. But yeah, I have a hard time with that. That's a challenge for me because that's not what the hobby's for. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, it's a community that's based on mutual respect and such, and we don't need the toxicity.
Exactly. Agreed.
Geoff, you want to say something?
I had been thinking as we're sitting here that vision is my biggest issue. You know, like I said, I'm retired, so I sit here 12 hours a day quite happily, and it's kind of all my time is focused on this. But at the age where my vision is, I can't even see a miniature clearly now without wearing sunglasses all the time. So that's really where my biggest challenge is getting the lighting right, getting it so I can actually see what I'm doing. I imagine I probably only have a few years left before my vision will be bad.
Optimizer, you want this?
Do you think it's a few years?
Yeah, I've probably got a few years left, but
try the Optimizer with the lights that come straight out of them.
Yeah, no, you know what? I've been through a variety of different devices, and that particular Optimizer didn't work for me. I ended up with this thing because the light goes through it. You can swap out the lenses super easy, keep it super clean, and it's lightweight, and it is working for me pretty well. But yeah, I've been through 2 or 3 different types of optimizers, and yeah, it's just the nature of the beast.
Have you thought about possibly going up into the next size miniatures? This is actually a question. There's a lot of 72mm and such out there now.
Yeah, absolutely. I've painted some, I've painted up to 90mm figures. In fact, I got a Bones figure on the shelf back here. There's that tree ant, which is like, I don't know, 1.5 feet tall or something. But, I was, in my earlier career, my first career really was as a skateboarder who was avoiding work.
Oh, wow.
And I managed to smash myself up pretty good doing that. And then I joined the Canadian Army, and I was an infantry officer for 20 years. I've smashed up my back and my wrists and done my body pretty hard. And so sitting there holding a heavy miniature, I find my wrists get really sore. So 28mm is pretty much where I live. And I have a comfortable chair. I do Tai Chi to kind of stay limber. But the only thing in that formula that I can't really control is the vision part of it. So from just from a hobbying perspective, that's the actual miniature painting. That's the real challenge for me, and that's why I'm so interested in actually doing classes right now. I teach a lot of beginner classes, and there's 2 art colleges here. One's right across the street, And I love meeting painters who are painting for the first time and getting them kind of started on their journey. And all the stuff I've learned in the last few years, I'm trying to pass it on to the local painting community. And then afterwards, you know, my wife's going to retire in a few years. I'll go somewhere warm and sit there in a chair wearing dark sunglasses, drinking Guinness or whatever, and think back on the good old days of other people's painting.
And paint 75mm models.
I'm thinking maybe like really big canvases with like a house painting brush and just kind of go for it.
Why not?
Statue painting, not miniature painting. Twice life size.
Ain't
We've got our next Bob Ross.
Get along so well.
No kidding. I say go for it.
Yeah. So, thank you for sharing that, because I know that's not always easy to share such personal things.
Agreed.
Another question is, what style, I mean, you were just mentioning art school and such thing. That would actually flow sort of into the next question. What style of art, artist, or school of art has influenced your work the most? Even in sculpting.
I mean, artists is, wow, Julie and Sandra Garrity and Gene Van Horn and, you know, Bobby Jackson, Jason Weeby, those guys are, you know, and Derek Schubert. When it comes to painting, Derek, Brice, Aaron Hartwell. Derek's probably been a mentor for me for a long time. I mean, I've known a lot of these guys for quite a while, but when it comes down to sculpting stuff, I mean, obviously Julie and Bob Rodolphe and those guys. I mean, I'm into animals, I'm into dragons. I mean, that's what I love, and I have been a fan of Julie and Sandra Garrity's dragons for so long that it's what I want to be and what I want to do. I just did a bunch of dregs recently for one of my clients, and I kind of tried to capture that old feel. So.
And they were so pretty. He actually shared those with us, and they were really pretty.
They're in my post here if you guys want to see it. If anyone wants to see them, they can go look at them in my artist gallery. So.
Yeah, amazing.
So, how about you, Lynn? What artist, school of art, or such has influenced your style the most?
Well, artist-wise, there's so many artists that I love, and each of them have their own style. So it's kind of like you love them for different reasons and different things that they do, right? So I grew up with, with art from Julie and Sandra and everything, and they're wonderful people too, and Bob and everything. Art-wise, I've always loved Aaron's work and Michael Proctor's work, and Aaron Hartwell is an amazing artist too. Marika Reimer, Jen Haley, Ann does great work and stuff. There's like so many artists that I love for different reasons. Like they each do their own thing, And Elizabeth Beckley, and God, there's like so many. I honestly won't know where to begin. As for other art, like say outside of miniatures and such, I love painting. I paint a lot of Blackheart models. It's one of the companies I paint for too. But I love painting all the horror stuff and everything. It's just fun. I like the art of Franzetta and Larry Elmore and such. So.
Lynn, are you the one who does the film noir style almost on some of the horror busts a lot? Is that yours?
Oh, with the no. Actually, I think I know what you're talking about. That's Jessica Bathory.
That's Jessica. Okay.
She is wonderful too. I love when she with the art. Oh my God, yeah, she's great too.
So, what about you, Brice?
So for me, I think it started off watching a lot of the Golden Demon artists, and the magazines would come out, and just really got excited by a lot of those guys that sort of pioneered a lot of that stuff. And I think it would be like Cyril, and then Banshee.
Oh yeah.
Just the stuff that they would put out, and then Joe, all the sculpting stuff.
Joe Orteza.
Yeah, there we go, Orteza. Thank you.
Oh yeah, he's great too.
And then there was another. I can't remember the other guy, but he actually, he'd won the sword that time, and he took time to talk with me.
Sergio.
Yeah.
I think that was Sergio Calvo-Rubio. Man, he's so great. It's not even fair. Jim Wapple,
Yeah.
Seth Amsden. It's just they're like from another planet. It's not even.
Yeah, I talk to Seth all the time, and he helps me out. And James Wapple is just love that guy. And then I think Jeremy Bonamont take a lot of classes from him. And then of course Aaron Lovejoy until he moved. Darn that guy.
Yeah, right. Like forget him.
Yeah, that's right. Goodbye. So his girlfriend's more important than me. What's wrong with him?
He moved for the sweet tea too.
Sweet tea. And so Aaron is always just sitting down. It's just great. I just love that guy. And of course, Jen Haley and Marika, like you said, and then all the sculptors. I always go to ReaperCon every year, and I just sort of watch all of them. It's like, wow, it's just amazing the stuff that they can do, and just you have a desire to be able to do that at some point. So.
And that just leaves you, Geoff. Yeah.
I've been trying to work out in my head what were my influences, and I think really it was Dungeons and Dragons as a game, because that's really why I was miniature painting.
Definitely.
I mean, so I think that the art from D&D that affected me the most was Di Terlizzi.
Oh yeah.
I really liked that kind of muted color, and the style of it. I really like the style. But for me, for a long time, it was miniature painting was in isolation. And with my job, I didn't have a lot of time for like looking at art and that kind of stuff. But I was always outdoors in nature. I lived up in the Arctic for a couple of years, so had experience of being out in the tundra and seeing, really some pretty nature that impacted on me. It changed the way I looked at things. And so what I'm finding now is that I'm just experiencing a lot of artists that you guys have known for a long time. I'm just really learning about and experiencing them now. And so I find what's happening is that non-art experience is kind of getting synthesized into both a style and a view of things. And what I'm really enjoying is talking to painters. Like last year at ReaperCon, which was the first real painting event I got to participate in, talking to Brice, talking to David Diamondstone. I met Marika Reimer, whose video, the DVD there that she did, was a huge influence on me a few years ago. And what I'm finding now is that when I take classes, so I'm going to say people like Aaron Lovejoy are helping me a lot and guiding me in finding new things to look at and seeing new things. So I'm kind of at the end of a long miniature painting career, but really just starting to be influenced by the art that's part of it. And I'm enjoying it. So I don't know what's influencing me yet. Ask me again in 5 years, I'll be painting completely differently, and I'll probably have a different answer.
5 years, if you agree to do a panel in 5 years.
Pardon me?
If you agree to do a panel in 5 years, I will ask you in 5 years.
Yep.
My plan is to be at ReaperCon as long as I am capable. I actually bought plane tickets to go to ReaperCon 3 times before I actually made it. And that was last year. And then as soon as it was over, I immediately bought another plane ticket for 2020. And so I'm now 1 for 5, one ReaperCon for 5 plane tickets. But I hope to make that about a 10 for 5. And then we'll see what happens after that.
ReaperCon is the one event that I spend all year looking forward to, preparing for, just getting excited about, and the fans and the people and everybody who's there. I have an amazing time the entire con. I spend the entire thing. It's a whirlwind. I just can't take it all in. I'm exhausted at the end of it, and halfway home, I'm already looking forward to the next one. I mean, it's the one thing that I just cannot get enough of each year.
Mm-hmm.
I love all the people. They're like, as someone once said, that ReaperCon's like a big family reunion, and it really is. But with people you choose to like and hang out with, and it's so true. I mean, everybody. Everybody's like getting to be like family, and every year I go, I meet new people that I've always wanted to meet but didn't have time or whatever, and start hanging. I try to hang out with new people every year and get to know more people, and And it's just great. And it just seems like there's never an end to the amount of people that I can get to meet and learn from and do things with, and it's great.
There's always new people coming in and out.
Well, just the way the artist alley has expanded. I mean, we used to be just like one little U, and now we're like a zigzag through a whole side of an entire convention hall. I mean, it's crazy how many more teachers, how many more talented people have joined in the last few years. I love it.
Yeah, Aaron Lovejoy.
What about you?
Aaron Lovejoy would tell me every year, it's like, you need to go to this thing. It's like the coolest thing ever. And I'm like, well, no, I've got these other things I'm going to go to. And finally I went, and I was like, okay, I'm sorry. You were totally right. I should have just dropped everything else and just gone to ReaperCon, because it is my favorite event of all the years. I mean, you just, like I walked in, you walk in and there's all these tables. I go, so what are these tables for? They're for painting? And they're for gaming or whatever? No, these are the painting tables. So it's just like a whole convention of this hobby. It's just fantastic. It's like, really?
Whee!
Yeah. The gamers are out in the lobby. We get the inside. Yeah.
That's right. They're outside the hall.
It really is the best. And I also love that, like, you can leave your stuff there. You can, like, get up, leave your stuff, and come back, and all your stuff will still be there, because it's like one family all together at an event. You know what I mean?
It's actually really cool.
Exactly. It's one of the few places where I'll leave my multi-$1,000 ZBrush setup just sitting there while I go teach a class, and I don't have to worry about it. You know, because people aren't going to mess with it, aren't going to touch it, and everybody else knows whose it is and stuff, and yeah.
Oh yeah, I love it.
I think somebody would be going to hospital if people noticed an individual touching your stuff.
At least for me, they would be.
It's actually true, because everybody knows everybody, and we're all there for each other. So, and Julie sits right next to me, so she's always there. So I mean, just people would never.
Yeah, don't mess with Julie.
You don't mess with Julie, because she's got Bob, and he's an old Italian. I wouldn't cross him, man.
Okay.
I was just thinking, should people throw dragons at you?
He has actual mafia stories. You should get him talking about it someday. It's pretty good.
Wasn't
I'm definitely. Sorry.
And I was gonna say, didn't it happen to Bob one time that somebody went to a convention posing as him? Not like looked exactly like him or anything like that, but like went to a con. I think it was him. That somebody went to a con and was trying to get, and it was to get like free stuff or extra treatment, and he was all like, "Oh, I'm Bob Rodolfi," but bro's been around for so long, everybody knows what Bob looks like.
I mean, how would you copy Bob? I mean, no way.
This dude was so beat. Like, he was just all like, "Oh, I'm Bob Rodolfi." I didn't witness it. Thank God I didn't. That guy would have been in for like a big surprise. You know what I mean? I would have been like, you beat. I'm recording you right now because you stupid, and I'm showing this to Bob. Watch me. That's where
you play it up a bit and try to get him to sculpt something for you.
Yeah, right? All right, fine, bro. Here's some green stuff. Give me a dragon. Right now. Find some.
So, mentioning sculpting, the next question has just come up. What are your favorite unusual tools or unusual uses for tools for your craft?
Oh, that's a good one. Well, this one's for sculpting, you said, right? Doesn't matter?
No, that's for your craft. For your craft. It was not painting or sculpting.
Oh.
I mean, let's be honest, we've all used some very interesting things.
That's very true.
I think because of James Wapple, makeup sponges.
Well, yeah, makeup sponges are great for weathering. Makeup brushes are great for dry brushing, especially on big, like bases and stuff. Oh, I got one. Eyeshadow applicators.
There you go.
Yeah, when I paint with oils, and Jim showed me this too, mind you, so I credit Jim for this. When I paint with oils, it can serve as either an eraser, or if, let's say, I I coat the whole thing with like dark brown so that in the linings and stuff it would be dark brown. I'd put that paint on first and then take the eyeshadow applicator to take it off the higher surfaces, so that way when I put the color on, it'll still have that lighter undercoat showing. Does that make sense what I'm saying? I'm sorry if I'm talking crazy. Okay, great. There we go. That's what I'm saying. There we go.
I mean, we sculpted a lot of things you wouldn't probably think about. I mean, henna tattoo applicators. Oh my gosh, someone smashed my henna tattoo applicator. Crap. Sorry. Damn it, my kids ruin my stuff and things get ruined. Anyway, henna tattoo applicators make really great instant rivets, instant little pebble scales, just right in the green stuff. That's a Jason Weeby
I use a mechanical pencil for that same thing, but I would have to find some henna tattoo maker things.
Another thing is diamond files. Make great sand-based texturing. Or say you've done some dragon scales, you want to just rough them up a bit, just lay that on and pat it a little bit. I tell you, I swear this thing it's got a bad misformed tip, so it's got a little extra sand on the tip, and it's the best thing for doing just any kind of weird. I can make any kind of skin texture I want with this thing.
I'm trying to think if I had anything that was not a standard tool, or standard tool of the trade here in my space. And I have actually a dissecting kit that I used when I was in university like 30 years ago, and it's got these really fine sets of scissors in it. It's gently curved scissors. They're for like cutting little tiny sinews and veins and things, right? And, it's kind of gross, but when you say, you're putting those grass tufts or whatever on your base, and one or two of them are not quite the right size, these things are precise enough to go in and like give a haircut to your grass tuft. And I find actually I'm using that set of tools all the time. Really precise sets of scissors.
That is an unusual use for it.
I mean, a lot of people don't think about it, but I use an anvil and a hammer a lot. Seriously, you'll actually see me using this. If anyone takes my class tomorrow, I use these to forge miniature sword blades before I put putty on them. I hand forge them out of copper wire.
And that's something.
Yeah, I mean, there you go, ladies and gentlemen. You have the first hint at a class tomorrow. Be there or be square, people.
And for once, I'll actually get to do it and not make a bunch of noise and piss off the other teachers around me. Usually when I'm forging and doing stuff in class, whoever's next to me is like, seriously?
So, we were discussing, actually we had a really interesting discussion before this panel started. And yesterday Reaper did, for me 2 days ago, but for you guys yesterday, Reaper did an amazing panel on how role-playing can be used to help relieve stress in today's situation. Now, I mean, I find the question can be adapted to sculpting, painting, just generally the whole thing. How has this, your hobby, helped you deal with stress of COVID, stress of just day-to-day life, dealing with anxiety, dealing with depression? Has it helped you? Has it not helped you? Yeah.
Well, I'll go back into, if that's okay. Lynn, you want to go first, or?
I can if you want. I don't know. If you know, go ahead. You started already. I'll go after you. Go ahead.
Okay. So.
Sorry.
Not to try and get too personal. This is like the personal channel now. So back in my early 30s, I developed a genetic heart dysfunction, and I've had 4 surgeries. I don't know how many cardioversions over the years, 30 some odd. But I'm in remission now. But in my 30s, one of the things, stress would often bring on the condition, and my doctor's like, you've got to find a way to put aside at your lunch hour, to put aside what you did in the morning and de-stress, and so you can face your afternoon and not have this stress compounding all day. So I built myself a nice cherry case that would hold all my paints and I could miniature a little base in it and bring all my brushes, and I started painting miniatures at work. And honestly, the stress of the morning, I would just flow right out that paintbrush. Honestly, I find miniature painting still to be far more stress relieving than miniature sculpting. Partially because miniature sculpting, you have art, art directors. So you know that. Wrong. Anyway, but yeah, but it's extremely relaxing to me to use that other side of my brain, because you know when I'm programming, when I'm writing, that's a whole different side of what I do and dealing with people and all that. Whereas when I'm sculpting and painting, it's my right brain, and I don't have to think about all that stuff. I can get lost in my little people that I love, you know. So and my little critters. So it helped a lot, and I've kept that up to this day, to the point where I demand that time at work. I mean, if my boss tries to get me to work or go to some lunch thing, I'll be like, no, that's my time, and they all know it. That's like from 11:30 to 12:30. Don't bug me. So
I need to start that.
I've done it. I have a travel case that I use. Well, now that it's COVID, we're not back in the building yet, but yeah, definitely cheeky. Joanne, if you meet most of my family, you'll find we're a whole bunch of cheeky, jokey around people. Anyways, so yeah, I have a travel case for work. As a matter of fact, one of the travel cases I use is my Monument Hobbies Hobby Go bag, one of the newer ones, and I'll put some stuff in it. And when we were in the building for work, then I would sit there and paint during my lunch hour too. And actually, people were very interested in what I was doing, because nobody else has been doing that. Because I'll either paint or I'll crochet. The crocheting part isn't so weird, because I'm like one of the leading people on my crochet club at work. So I mean, that's not weird. But I'll sit there and I'll paint. And at first everybody was like, the hell is she doing? But then people actually came up to me and asked me, and they're like, what are you doing? And I'm like, oh, I'm painting, and it'll either be a commission or something for me. And people are like, that's awesome. So now when people pass by, or you know, as of late, whatever, they pass by and they're like, what are you working on now? And tell me about what you're doing and stuff. So there's actually a lot of interest. At first it was just, whoa, what's going on here? But now everybody's interested. And my husband also has a little lunch bag that he uses, and he comes into work early to beat traffic. And since he's been under a lot of stress too, that's what he's been doing to cope too, is he takes that time before he starts work and he works on painting GW models. Like he's been working on his Astra Militarum, you know, Imperial Guard Army. Like basically by between the morning and the lunch hour, he ends up usually managing to finish a model, so it gives him a sense of accomplishment too.
I can say that.
Yeah, that's important these days. I mean, at this point, everything is, you know, progress is progress, right? Because you get so, with everything going on, you get so depressed and feeling hopeless at times that even if you can get a little something done, sometimes it'll help you cope. It feels good, you know? So to deal with stress with everything now, I've been, I do crocheting and sewing as like an outside of painting, because I do painting professionally for my job too, right? So, I mean, I got to do something kind of outside of that. So I've been doing crocheting and sewing, and that's been great because I make stuff for the kids and, you know, whatever. And then I paint things that make me happy or make me feel inspired. That's been helping me cope with the stress too. And also it keeps me from having too many pints of Rebel ice cream. So that's good.
Yeah, that's been the downside going to ZBrush, is I no longer have that toxic substance in my hands that I can't eat with anymore.
For me, just like Andy, I think it's the same thing, where it's just sort of a time to turn off the engineering stuff and the hard stuff, and you just be creative and see what you can create. And for me, it's very, you know, just opening. And I think sometimes I even avoid doing it, because once I get into that mode, I want to just keep going for a long time. And so if I can only get a half hour, sometimes I don't, you know, don't want to do it because I want to, you know, keep going for a while. So.
Yep. Sometimes
but when I travel, everything goes with me. I have a full set. I have a travel set that's always packed and it always goes with me. So.
Yep. And also too, sometimes that half hour can make a world of difference. So.
Yeah, I like sculpting on my downtime when I go to software conferences. I always bring my sculpting stuff with me now, not my computer, but I mean, it used to be my kit would go with me, and I'd sculpt in the evenings or whatever, because I don't want to go out drinking with all these people I have no idea who they are and go, So usually I'll do the conference, I go back to my hotel room and decompress for the day,
I think that calming, stress relieving effect is why miniature painting as a hobby has stayed with me all the way through my Army career, when all those other hobbies just went by the wayside. My last couple of jobs in the Army were pretty stressful, and I used to get up 4:30 in the morning, I'd paint for half an hour, be all calm and relaxed, and jump in the car, commute for an hour to go to work, do the day, get back in the evening, crash out, get up the next morning, do it all again. But every day, I'd start the day calm, relaxed, mind clear of anxiety, and kind of launch things on a positive note. And I think there's two things in that. One is that it's like I do Tai Chi as well now as meditation.
Oh, nice.
And painting is a bit like that. It's a moving meditation. You get into the rhythm of what you're doing, and the cares and the stress drop away, and you get a focus which is in the moment where you are. And the thing that goes along with that is it's unlike, you do your job and get your paycheck 2 weeks later, it's digital, you never actually see any money, there's no reward for what you do. But when you have the miniature in your hand, you get that base coat done and it's smooth, and you look at it and you're like, did it, done, immediate sense of accomplishment. And even just taking a bare metal miniature and doing the Zenithal Prime with the airbrush, you pick it up and look at it, you've accomplished something that's visceral, you can see it, it's there, it's now. And I think that goes a long way to a lot of it counters a lot of the long time accumulative stress that we get from a lot of what goes on in our lives. And even though I'm not under a lot of stress anymore, put all that behind me, I do find that the miniature painting still is really good for being calm. What I do miss in it, though, is I really did enjoy doing the painting classes. I found, meeting beginning painters, people who had never painted before, showing them their first Bones figure, saying the words shade and highlight, and they don't know what washes are, they don't know what dry brushing is. By the end of the first painting session, they've done a Derek Schubert eye with 2 tones and a white reflection dot on their first mini, because they don't know. And the inspiration and the positive feeling that comes from that interaction, I have to admit that I really miss those in-person classes with people.
That was a good point. I mean, and honestly, I have to say that's something that I resisted ZBrush for the longest time, because for me it was about getting away from the computer, because I'm stuck on a computer all day, every day. I write code, I write, help authors write manuals, that kind of stuff, right? That's what I do. And to go to a system where I'm also on the computer, but I've managed to make the setup so not feel so much like I'm still on the computer, because I got my Cintiq and all that stuff. But it really didn't come home to me until I was able to get a 3D printer and start being able to print off what I create and be able to touch it. The ZBrush does not have that same sense of satisfaction that you get from being able to see and feel a 3-dimensional object. And as we get more and more into digital, it's an interesting thing, and I'm wondering how that's going to affect people, because as we get into more digital gaming, digital play, digital everything, is digital taking over too much of our life? Are we going to lose some of that tactical release that as humans we need to touch things? That's important. So.
Very good point.
It's
I love it.
not the same.
And then Hamilton, half the time when I crank the thing open, which nearly kills me every time.
For me, it would be Taylor Dane, Tell It to My Heart.
Yeah.
It's a good song, too.
Okay.
Thank you. Yes, I got us back on. I don't know why I had no notification telling me. Usually on OBS Streamlabs, it'll tell you on the bottom, hey, your connection's all, fugazi or whatever, but that didn't happen. I sorry, forgive.
So are we back on?
Yes, we are.
Yeah, we're
back to starting trouble.
So getting into sculpting, I mean, ZBrush itself does not teach you how to be a sculptor. It's no different than back in the 90s when Word came out and everybody thought they were suddenly a writer, and the publishing industry basically went crazy because nobody could actually write. They just thought they could because they had Word suddenly, right? ZBrush is the same thing. It's just a tool. There's no difference than the tools are. You still have to learn to sculpt. You still have to learn anatomy. You still have to learn how to push the stuff. So you are never going to waste your time doing it physically in the real world, because that will translate 100% directly to ZBrush. Absolutely 100%. I mean, I learned ZBrush fairly quickly, partially because I already knew how to do it in reality, and I still sculpt there almost the same way I sculpt there. There's a few tools there that make things a little easier, that make things faster, but if you rely on those too much, you end up with that digital look, right? If you want your sculpts to look natural and stuff, you got to turn a lot of that stuff off fairly early in the process and just sculpt it by hand like you normally would in the pixels, right? So you don't have to invest in a $4,000 ZBrush computer / ZBrush / Cintiq setup and all that stuff. Honestly, best bet if you really want to get into sculpting is start sculpting extra stuff on your miniatures. That's how a lot of people learn. Brice, I gotta believe right now, I mean, like I said, you started sculpting a full figure. I mean, as much as you sculpt your stuff, just start throwing down some armatures and start doing it, man. I mean, you're already there. You got the skills. You got to be even into one of the tool junkies, like most of us end up being, where we all make half of our own tools because it's so fun to make the tools, right? So I mean that's, and so for beginners, I mean, there's a few videos out there and stuff of people sculpting. I started with Miniature Mentor. I can't remember what it was. It was one of the green stuff classes on Miniature Mentor was what gave me a lot of my aha moments. I try to give a lot of that in my classes, like my organics one I taught today and the one I'm teaching tomorrow, the inorganics. Those two classes, I am trying to show like all the base fundamentals of moving putty, using putty, what you can do with it. In the past, armatures and learning to use armatures is a whole nother kind of concept. So I'm not covering that in these classes this weekend, but I mean, there's other people who do. So learning how to use an armature, make an armature, but the big thing is, it's really be a study of the world. You got to be a study. I mean, I teach a whole class on this subject. Really, I mean, my how not to suck sculpting edition class. That's literally what it is. It's it's a mind dump of everything I wish I knew when I started sculpting. And so you got to be a study of the world. You got to be a study of things and how things go together and how people go together. And you see so many sculpts out there that just the anatomy's wrong. The proportions are wrong. The things are just not put together correctly the way a real creature would be. The creature has no concept of an ecology. There's no reason why it's got this extra fin there. Well, it looks cool. Okay, well, it looks cool, but what does it do? Some of that kind of stuff. So getting into a study and knowing that, so that once you know some of that stuff, you then know when you can break the rules and when it makes sense to break the rules. Because if you break the rules when it doesn't make sense, you're gonna actually end up making something that looks off or looks wrong, and people will be like, I don't like that. So I have a ton of books. I've been studying animals since I could read, which was about 3 or 4 years old. I love animals. I love creatures, and that's just the thing that I do. And this is just a way of translating it into a hobby for me, honestly. As Joanne knows, I'm a big bird nut. I've been sitting here watching your bird kids. There's probably all over you here.
It's so cute.
So yeah, to get started, honestly, just pick up green stuff and start pushing it around. But do it on your miniature. Start taking next time you paint. Don't just paint the miniature. Pick it up and say, I would really like it if this had X. Make X yourself. And if it's not great, strip it off and do it again. If it's not great, strip it off, do it again. If you ever see me on any social media, one of my taglines is don't distract me. One of my taglines is don't fear the scalpel. Because when you're in green stuff, the biggest thing that new people do is they spend 5 hours doing a sculpture and it sucks, and they live with it because they spend 5 hours doing it. If it sucks, cut it off and do it again. Cut it off and do it again. My first human, Coraline Paddington, that Reaper has, a very Victorian lady. She's got like a fan and stuff, right? She was the very first human I did. I cut her face off 13 times before I was happy with it.
Oh, Jesus.
And resculpted it. You know, and that's what it takes in order to be, to get yourself to that level, right? To be able to do that stuff. I hope I haven't taken too much time here on this. Sorry.
That's why he's a sculptor and I'm not. Sorry,
But-
no,
ZBrush is great because there's an undo button. You know, I mean, that's in reality, you don't have the undo button, and so you have to literally, your undo button is the scalpel. You cut it off and you start over. You know, it's.
So, the next question is, what is your favorite or go-to basing technique or sculpting technique for basing?
I just sculpt my bases as I need them and use basing materials as a. You know.
So one of mine is this. If you put out the material and you just push the foam on there, it makes actually gravel that's the right size
Oh,
for
wow.
the miniatures. Because most of the stuff you put on there is actually the wrong scale. So most
Right.
of the gravel and stuff is like, well, I mean, there are stuff, but if you just, and there's different thicknesses of foam, so you have to find the one that's, the right texture.
The right
and then
scale and texture,
push it
yeah.
on, and you move it all around, and it makes this awesome sandy type, rocky.
I never thought of using foam. That's one of your weird. That's your weird tool right there, Brice.
That's my weird tool. Yeah,
That's true. Now that
Yeah.
you think about it, yeah.
After I love joint.
I mean, I've been using sandpaper for that. I never thought about using foam. That would fit the cracks better.
Yep, and it squishes in there, and you rip off little pieces, and you can use your tweezers.
Dab it in, yeah.
You dab it into those tight
Oh.
spots, and it
Brilliant.
just works great. And then you'll notice there'll be different hole structures on different foams, so you sort of have to look at different ones.
I've been trying to do explosions on bases that don't look like a big smoke cloud. I do a lot of BattleTech figures, and I live in
sure.
OSL. I'm always trying to make my figure look like it's lit by like just some intense thing happening, and so I've been trying to find a way to make that look of flaming metal shards going up in a fan, illuminating the figure, but not like a gasoline smoke cloud. So I've been trying to do things like, using the green stuff and all that to try to sculpt the shape of, the crater. And I've been painting a lot of tufts, many, many colors of tufts to try to get that shape and that look of intense flaming bits shooting up and illuminating from underneath. So at the moment, my go-to thing is painting tufts with object source lighting, which is the opposite of stress relief in miniature painting.
Dave Cecil had in his water effects class. I don't know if you've taken that before, Geoff,
No.
or you've seen it. He had a bunch of stuff that really might apply to what you're trying to do, because what he's doing is, because he was even talking about using some of his water stuff. If you color it oranges and reds, it turns into fire.
To make
Yeah.
He has methods now of splashing the water and making it look like the water's splashing, like something's coming out of the surface, and he's got the water going in all directions. Well, if you just painted them orange, it would be like slag fire going in all directions,
Absolutely. Actually, I've got
he tints
my
it.
ReaperCon figure for this year, even though it's
Mhm.
canceled, is exactly that. Wisps of like water effect to make the shape of those wispy flames.
Right.
I think we got last year, Doug Colson, I think, was teaching about
Oh my
doing
God, I haven't seen him in forever.
clear colors to paint those clear miniatures, right? Trying to do something like that to make the flames look a bit more natural.
But you put the water
Yeah.
effects, they got a paste kind, and you can put it on glasses or things like that, and you let it dry in rounded shapes, and you can make it look like,
Right.
and they're clear.
He was dripping it down fishing line, and then the fishing line disappears underneath it, and it dries clear. And but you can tint it with Reaper Clear Brights, and it gets
blue ink.
and it was crazy because so he was making both water and fire at the same time. We were like, whoa, that was so cool.
Yeah.
That's actually really awesome tips there.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
I think the other thing for bases, though, for me is most of the time we're just like when you make army models, it's like sticking a guy on, and then you paint a little guy, and then you put some and you train him. I mean, that's when I started making armies. And that was like a chore to do it. And I think the thing that I like the best is your base telling a story?
Yeah.
Or is the miniature? Why is that guy standing there? And so I think I've been really big on. I like to have layers of discovery. So there's always little weird things. If you actually look, you'll find little neat things or things that help tell the story of why that person's there. So I think that's. So I always try to sculpt in or add things that help tell that story.
I often try to sculpt some little animal or creature somewhere on my base and see if anybody ever notices.
I've noticed. They're awesome.
Yeah, you're one of the few people who's ever commented on it, so very few other people have noticed.
So, okay, we've got a comedian who was listening into the earlier one. We actually had in another panel earlier today some interesting discussion about pies. So the next question is, what is your favorite pie and what is your favorite topping, whipped cream or icing on that pie?
Keto pumpkin pie, so that would be with an almond flour crust with sugar-free Land O'Lakes whipped cream.
Can you mail that? Because that sounds really good.
Next time when Matt makes it, I'll have it sent over to you. I'll be like, hey, I need you to take a slice, some dry ice, and send it to my buddy over there.
I'm gonna name. Okay, we're actually having members of the audience requesting that pie.
I'm in charge of all the pies at my house,
good.
So we make all the pies for Thanksgiving, and we typically do pecan and pumpkin and a banana cream pie and sometimes an apple. What else do we make? Oh, there's a cookie pie that everybody likes. Oh, and then there's a chocolate cream. And then I always make some crust for other family members to make some stuff too. So I think pecan is my favorite, and then second, a very close second, would be pumpkin pie with whipped cream.
My mother is a she could be professional pie baker if she wanted to. I don't know how she makes her crusts. They are like the best, most flakiest crusts on the planet. I've never had a pie out to eat or professionally done that can even get close to what she does. And she is magic in the kitchen when it comes to baking things. And she makes so many different kinds of pies, it's hard to pick one. But my favorite one is one you can never get anywhere else, and that is banana coconut cream. You can get banana cream, you can get coconut cream, but nobody makes a banana coconut cream. And somehow my mother went, hey, put them together. And so she makes a toasted banana cream pie that has the coconut in with the banana. Oh my God, it's the best thing on the planet. And every once in a while she'll throw pineapple in and make it into a pina colada coconut cream pie. And it's like, oh, yeah, it's unbelievable. I can eat that all day, and there's no topping on that one. But as a kid, I never had birthday cakes. I hated cake as a child. And so my mother would always make me fresh wild blueberry pie. We lived in northern Wisconsin, so we'd always go picking blueberries in June, July out in the wild and get the itty-bitty little blueberries and spend days and hours out there camping and picking blueberries. But then for my birthday, I'd always get a fresh blueberry pie in the first week of August. And that, of course, has to have all the whipped cream in the world on top of it.
That sounds awesome. My grandpa, when he was alive, his favorite pie was coconut custard pie.
Oh, yeah.
That was his absolute favorite. And Wisdom says here, coconut cream pie. When you said coconut banana cream, well, maybe not so much the coconut, but the banana, you probably had Kilted Viking losing his mind, because anything banana is like,
There's something about the mix with the coconut and the banana. It's just like that tropical thing going together that's just fantastic.
Yeah.
And yet it's so creamy and delicious that you just kind of melts in your mouth as you're eating it, covered in whatever whipped cream type thing she puts on top of it. That's just yeah, my mouth is watering. Thanks, guys. This is great. No, I'm going to want more. I'm going to have to call my mom home.
The treacle tart was the thing.
Oh.
Most people don't even know what the heck that is, but treacle tart for sure was the thing. But if I got the vote, it would be pumpkin pie. But I never get to vote. I just work there. So it's all good.
Okay, now the opposite side of that, your least favorite pie. And no, 24 birds in a pie does not count as a pie.
Oh, damn
Just
it.
absolutely messing this one to me.
I would have to say 3.14 because I'm really bad at math.
Well done. Well done.
Oh,
That was well done.
Played.
dang it.
Well, I've never met a pie that I didn't like, so I can't answer that question, but I will tell you one thing. I used to, when I lived up in the Arctic, my brother came up to visit, and he's a pretty adventurous guy, and he wanted to try all of the food. So we went to this little restaurant that was there in this town we lived in, and had a glorious name. It was called the Smokin' Igloo. This is in Iqaluit up on Baffin Island. So we went to the Smokin' Igloo, and he asked the person that was working there, give us the local dishes. And the guy just looked at him like he was crazy, but he got us all this stuff. And one of the dishes they brought, they said, it'll taste like walnuts, don't worry. And this was something called muktuk, which is raw beluga fat on the skin. And let me tell you, it does taste like walnuts, but you could chew it for about a month and you won't get very far.
Oh, Jesus.
So I've never met a pie that I didn't like, but let me assure you that I will never try muktuk again.
What? Why would somebody want to eat something that would take them for, like, basically, you know, in a matter of speaking, forever to chew? Like, even if I have a steak that's, like, too chewy, it's, like, so annoying after a while. You know?
I have a feeling when you live in the Arctic, it's not a matter of want, it's a matter of that's what you have.
Calories, that's right.
It's the right thing. It has you know, lots of nutrients in it. It's, you know, and it doesn't have to be cooked, right? It's raw whale meat with whale fat on it.
So partly it's the interesting chewing gum.
So
Yeah,
pass on the whale soon, you got it.
The Wrigley's of the Arctic. I think for me, for our, one of our 4th grade projects, we had to make some sort of Western dish. And so I found in an old book there was actually a bean pie recipe. And so we actually made this. You had to cook the beans, and then you made it into a pie. And I took it to school. No, every kid's like, no, I'm not eating that. There's one kid, well, if it has a cup of sugar in it, I'll eat it. And guess what? It's got a cup of sugar. So the kid ate it. And actually, it wasn't too bad. But on my pie list, I think it'd be way down there.
It's actually very cool.
I'm actually not a fan of pies that are super sweet. Like the kind that curl your toes because they got so much sugar in them, you know. I like pecan pie if I'm in the right mood, but anything sweeter than pecan pie is like, nope.
When I grew up, our pies had meat in them. Meat and kidney, although you can keep the kidney. I mean, steak, onion, and mushroom pie, steak and cheese pie.
That sounds good. That one too.
Meat pie with pureed peas, shepherd's pie.
I make shepherd's pie like weekly almost.
Yeah, shepherd's pie.
When we used to eat carbs,
Shepherd's
right?
pie with a base.
Yes.
Shepherd's pie with a base so you can eat it in the hand. I mean, that's a pie for me. So, yeah, it's interesting the difference in culture. I mean, you're in the UK, so you get the holes. I mean, the kidney part you can have. We're not going to argue on who's getting the steak and kidney pie. You can have that one. But you get it. I think that's a Commonwealth thing though, with the meat and such. So, we have an interesting question. Of all the miniatures that are out there, what miniature that you do not currently own, but you really want, but have not been able to get because A, it's out of production, too expensive, what miniature would you most want to get your hands on? It does not have to be Reaper.
Smog. Oh no, wait, it's not out of production though, but it's like $600.
Doesn't matter.
I can't really justify right now spending $600 on a model, to be completely honest. But I really want that Smog, that GW. Was it GW or Forge World? That one.
Forge World.
Is that Forge World? Okay. Yeah, I thought so. Okay. I just want to make sure I didn't get it wrong.
They came out with a plastic version or something, so maybe that's why. I don't remember exactly.
Maybe. Yeah, it was like a little different looking, but that Forge World one is, yeah, that one. I want that one, and there's probably others, but that I'm not thinking of off the top of my head. But the one that comes to mind right away would be Smog.
It's actually a really nice. Oops, it's a really nice looking miniature. I just went and looked it up.
It's. I mean, I'm a big Lord of the Rings fan too, but yeah, it's just gorgeous.
You just went up several notches in my book.
Oh, why, thank you, darling. I thought my lipstick just did it for you, but I'll take that too.
I am a total Lord of the Rings, well, Tolkien geek, period. I mean, I've been studying Tolkien for years and years, and I love Tolkien, so...
We can talk when you get to Silmarillion level, okay?
Way past that. You want me to give my anthology on Tolkien and how... and the detailed analysis of the characters and how it fits with Christianity and the Catholic Church?
We just got warm in here.
Oh, girl, he is challenging you. He like, what? You want me to let you know what's up? Want me to tell you about the Sim Island? Huh?
You want to get into this? Yeah. Do I know what Tolkien was eating the day he wrote that? No, just kidding.
You know something? As soon as this panel's over, I'm all ears.
Oh, girl. I'm going to be sorry to miss that. We should do a separate panel just on that.
I'm more giving a shit.
I'm voting on that. That's happening.
Bishop, I'll give it back. Sorry.
Well, we really need to get his Loim on here because that guy knows it. I mean, he is deep into the lore.
Discussing a book. What is your favorite book or genre, and why?
Lord of the Rings. Fantasy. Yeah.
Yeah.
Why?
Fantasy and sci-fi for me.
I've always been attracted to things like swords and that whole kind of concept, right? I mean, I don't know really exactly why. I mean, I'm to the point where a lot of my hobbies are. I mean, I'm a fence. I used to be a fencer for years until I blew my knees out. I was an epee fencer for a long time, like 20 years. But I collect swords. I have a very large sword collection. I mean, my kids tease me that you can't get more than 10 steps away from a sword anywhere in this house, and that's true. And I don't collect anything that's a wall hanger. It's all real. So that's just a thing. I'm just really into medieval stuff, right? So I mean, it's fantasy is always house. No, I wouldn't recommend busting through the front door. That would not be healthy. Nope. Yeah.
So a friend of mine who's listening over my stream has just said 10 feet. Is that all?
Well, he's counting things like the kids' bedrooms and stuff, right? You know, so most of the places that I occupy, no, you don't have to go that far.
Man, them kids don't need to sleep no damn where. But like, if it weren't for me, there wouldn't be a you. Sleep outside in the back. I need room for my swords. No, I'm just kidding.
His comment was, his 6-year-old daughter's been doing fencing since she was 5.
That's
nice.
so awesome.
My eldest started when he was 7, so that was the earliest they'd take him.
So he's saying, yeah, you got to step up your game.
I have the distinction of having my butt kicked by multiple times by a Olympic bronze medal epéist. So you know.
Nice. Wow.
I was her target. I was a moving target for her many times. So Susie Scanlon, she was one of my club mates.
Okay.
So for me, for miniature, would be Dance of Death.
Oh, yeah. You can't get that one no more.
Well, it was just a Kickstarter thing, and then they never produced it yet. So it's just like... and then books, I think, I do like a lot of fantasy-type stuff. So, you know, stuff in the Harry Potter genre, and Artemis Fowl, and...
Have you seen the new Artemis Fowl movie?
I saw it, and it's the first movie I've fallen asleep in ever, I think.
Yeah, I can't say I heard good things about it either.
It's tough when you love the book and the way it's written, they really change the story, so it's sort of difficult to be happy with it.
Oh, that makes sense.
So now our little quiet one who's hiding over in his corner, so...
All right, Geoff, your turn.
All right. Well, there's one dark sword. I think she's called like a sorceress or something. that isn't available anymore, and it's just got a really nice aesthetic about it. It's a real interesting sculpt on the dress. And I'm really interested in trying to do patterns on clothing and that kind of thing. I'd like to see if I could track one of those down, but generally speaking, I'm painting whatever people throw my way. So I kind of like the adventure of not quite knowing what's coming next down the pipe. For reading, like, my first job was in public library. I used to be what they call a page. It was the technical services page in the public library here. So I worked in the basement, and as the shipments of books came in, I was the guy that got to unpack them and see all the new stuff. And the rule was you could take a book home as long as you brought it back in the morning. I used to open the boxes, pick the best one, take it home, read it overnight, come back, and get another one. So I would read like a novel a night. Terrible reading addict. I guess that's a good thing, though.
Yeah, I would say so.
My taste really went from the fantasy, then into hardcore sci-fi, and now I pretty much read mysteries. I used to read a lot of really technical stuff for work, a lot of military history and all that sort of thing. And now that I'm retired, I've washed a lot of that out of my memory. And I like reading a good mystery, not having a clue what's going on at the start, not having a clue what goes on at the end. And along the way, some people chatted, and that's what I enjoy for reading these days.
So when I say
that kind of thing.
I never answered the question about the miniature. I really don't have a lot that I want anymore because I don't paint much anymore, and I've got a lot of old stuff, and I've got a lot. I mean, I've got all ends on every bones. I use them for gaming. I'm looking up at my giant stack of bones boxes. But I think what I've really gotten into collecting, and I treasure the most, is I'm collecting these days art from friends. And from the good, the top end painters, and I'm trying to get a miniature painted by people that I admire and people that I like. I've actually started trading. I'll sculpt something for you if you paint one of my figures for me. That type of deal.
Right?
Maybe, yeah. Okay. Seriously, because to me it's that kind of thing, and I have a special shelf that I keep them on, and I'm starting to get a few, and to me that's a cool thing. It's like I can trade my part with them. I've done something with Ann Forster, and I are doing a swap right now. I sculpted her dog, and she's painting my first human for me. So and to me it's kind of neat to be able to get some of the artwork from you guys. Huh? I own a human? Yeah, well, not yeah. My first human, yeah, he's off to college right now. But yeah, but my wife made more of him than I did. Yeah, no.
I made this.
Anyway, so that's what I've been doing a lot more lately.
Twice. Sculpted him once and made him once.
Yeah.
So, you guys know a lot of artists and such things.
Mm-hmm.
Of all the artists and such you've met at ReaperCon, you can pick any of them, and you can even decide on the project. Who would it be, and what would the project be? You can pick up to 2. I'll say you can pick 2 artists.
I don't really want to answer this question because whoever I say is going to make somebody else go, "Oh, he didn't pick me," because they're all my friends. I'm not going to it's. How do I pick one amazing person over another? I mean, seriously, these people are all like my family,
Yeah, but I mean, for sure. I wouldn't even know what to choose or where to begin or whatever either, to be completely honest.
You wouldn't pick me?
See, for me, the best thing, my favorite thing is I can walk down the artist table and there's these pieces. I mean, these rows and rows of masterpieces. And you walk by each of them and it's just and you can hold it and you can look at it in person. Because the photographs never, ever portray what you see in person.
Never.
And just the ability to see the talent, and it's every time I look, it's I feel bad about myself. This is all, no, but but you just see these beautiful works of art, and it's just, I just think that's the best ever, because you can just, just that experience. And I have a small collection of things I've been trading too with other little people. It's fun. I'm always looking for really small miniatures that we can make trades with, so they won't take too long. But because I'm a slow painter, but
I'm desperately, I guess personally, I mean, I'd really like to get a Derek. I mean, I'm trying to get right now the people who really got me going, right?
Yeah.
And Derek Schubert really, Anne taught me how to highlight and taught me how to not be a dry brush painter. And so she's kind of like one of the first people I really did that with. Derek is the guy who took me and said, all right, you can be better than this. Move up to here. And he really pushed me a lot back in the mid 2000s, late 2000s. And he was the one that kind of got me the idea of like, wow, you mean you can paint and sculpt? And so if I had to pick one person, it'd be Derek, but it's for sentimental reasons too, because,
Well, I'm pretty new on the scene, so I can pick somebody without offending everybody, right? And I would have to say that what really caught me in miniatures was those 1979 Ral Partha sculpts of elves.
Oh my God, Ral Partha,
I used to get on the bus, go to the local store and count my allowance, and if I could buy 2 at 80 cents, I was like happy. And so my company is named for one of my D&D characters, and she was this fairy winter witch alcoholic that hated dragons, and she was punching above her weight all the time. I played that character for like 5 years, so that's why the company's named for her, Hecatina. And if I could do any project, it would be a Tom Meyer sculpt of that fairy with the bitter look on her face.
Oh yeah.
Standing on the severed head of some dragon that just got put down, and that would be my project. And I would probably cast about 300 of them, put them in a vault, hire guards, and I'd paint them off. Nobody would get one. I'd just disappear into the vault and paint them off.
That just sounds like a Dark Sword mini in waiting.
It does, kind of. Yeah. Maybe somebody will hear this Twitch stream, and you never know. It could happen.
Guys, share the link. Get the person out there. Let's help get him a Tom Meyer sculpt.
Now, the character was a sprite, right? So I bought that Dark Sword sprite carrying the severed human head, and I was going to try to do a conversion of it, and that sprite figure is like, 11 millimeters long or something. So you could probably hand me just about any sprite, and I would never be able to tell who actually made it because my eyesight is so bad. But it's a dream. Could happen.
she has it. That's fantastic.
I love. I started off on Ral Partha stuff too, and Tom Meyer sculpts. Oh my God! I got like a bunch of his sculpts with Dark Sword and everything. And there's some other companies he did too. What was it? Thunderbolt Mountain?
Yep.
He did, some on that too. Because he's so precise with the way that he sculpts with the faces and all the detail. It's amazing. It's not even fair, Just look at the sculpt. You're just like, man, I could paint it as good as I feel like I just wouldn't do it justice. His work is so amazing too.
I helped Dark Sword out a lot with like fixes and stuff when sculpts come in, if there's something got broken or if there's something that needs a little patched up and stuff. So I've gotten to actually hold greens made by Jeff Grace and Tom Myers and stuff in the last few years. I haven't ever had to fix a Tom Meyer because his are perfect, but I got to hold one once and to actually see the green in person and be like, why can't I do that? And it's just, yeah, it's pretty impressive when you see the actual greens. It's crazy what those guys can do.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Well, starting in the just sort of going through things, I think for me it was really awesome that the first ReaperCon, and I found out that Jen Haley is going to be there, and I actually got to and then I looked at the nameplates and I was sitting next to Jen Haley. And I just thought that was amazing, and I've always wanted one of her pieces. So that's just not besmirching anybody else, but just she's been an inspiration for years and years, and just she's amazing, painter, and what she's accomplished is just amazing. So.
Oh, that's so
yeah,
funny.
for sure.
That makes me think of my first ReaperCon. So when I went to ReaperCon the first time, I wasn't actually a guest artist, but I was a Reaper artist, but I hadn't yet been a guest artist. And Gene saw me setting up at one of the main tables. He's like, "You don't belong out there. You're one of us. Get over here." And he and Bobby Jackson split and made room for me on the corner of the artist table. And I sat there setting up, and I'm literally sitting there the whole time. I'm between Gene. It was me, Gene, Kevin, Bobby, and Jason, and I'm just like, just don't look at me. I mean, I don't belong here, And then what did they do the next year? They put me next to Bob and Julie and Izzy on the other side, and I was like, again, it's one of these things like, because I mean, I have been in awe of Julie Guthrie since I was 11 years old, for God's sake, I mean, and it was just like. And Bob, and like, oh my God, and they're so nice. And Julie's, and they're just so down to earth. And it was like just crazy, just sitting there like I had some right to be at the table next to Julie Guthrie, for God's sake. I mean, it was like, oh my God, what am I doing here?
Like, did somebody make a mistake? I'm sitting next to Julie. Like, I don't think I'm supposed to be here. I'm sorry. I think I'm supposed to sit like all the way over there. Excuse me.
And then the funny thing is, like, I'm sitting there sculpting in that year, and Bob and I just hit it off. We had a great time, man. I mean, just fantastic. And the whole time, Bob and I were cracking jokes because we'd be sitting there sculpting, and lines would be queuing to see Julie and Izzy on either side of us, and Bob and I were in dead man zone in the middle. And every once in a while, somebody like, "Oh, you're Bob Rodolfi. That's nice. Oh, you're Andy." And they didn't even know who I was. It's just like going, oh, it's hilarious. And we had so many jokes. He talks about how he's Julie's baggage carrier. Oh man, we have had we had such a great time that year.
It's like
so that has to be the sculpt of him. When we do a sculpt of him, just have him carrying a bunch of suitcases.
Yeah, right.
No. It's got to be the not suitcases, the paint bags. Where you can pack all your paints and the miniatures
like
and all
the
that.
sculpting paces or something. Yeah, I'm with you on that. Yeah, that's what I was thinking too.
So, I mean, you guys have all been at ReaperCon a number of times.
Yeah.
So what is one of the funniest stories? What's one of the funniest things you've experienced there?
Oh my God.
Oh, what's the weirdest? Okay. Brice has got something?
Okay, well, without incriminating anyone. Okay, go ahead.
They decided to do an artist paint contest in the evening.
Oh my God.
I think I think we're about to think of the same thing. Go ahead.
There was alcohol involved.
Oh my God, it is the same one.
Yeah, my story is a derivative of this one. So go ahead.
Okay, so anyway, Marika just keeps challenging everybody, and so she's just really hammered, and she is so hammered that she had to put her hand on the floor so that she can be steady enough to paint. So she's got sitting on a chair with a hand on the floor and painting a miniature, and she still kicked everybody's butt. I mean, just being.
Wait, didn't she either that same year or another year? Her ass got so drunk, she turned around and she threw up, got back at the table, kept painting, and still whooped everyone's butt.
That was the same day. Yeah. She walked over and threw up the trash can and came back.
I remember that. That's all I was gonna say.
And so the next morning, I'm a morning person, so I'd gone to bed before they got that bad. I saw some of that, and then I got to bed. The next morning, I teach an 8 o'clock class. So I won't name names necessarily, but it was people who were part of that.
Names.
Right, she's like, name and shame.
One was Jess, and I'm not sure who she was talking to. But they were discussing the night before, and all I can remember is Jess saying, "Is it considered a hangover if you're still drunk?"
It's considered to be continued. Oh my God.
So yeah, they had a good time that night.
I've seen from that particular competition, and it wasn't just her that got messed up that night. There were a couple of others, and I've seen one of them practically passed out, and 2 people had to carry the person back to their room. I was like, bro, that competition was rough.
That was out of the locked toilet, too. There was a locked stall. They had to drag him out from underneath it.
Oh my God, yes, that is so true. But oh my God, there is so much funny stuff that has happened, and I'll probably remember it in like the middle of the night. But that was definitely one for a lot of us. That was like a funniest story for a lot of us.
Well, that was also that was the year of the double flus, where we got both flu A and B went through the con as con crud, and pretty much the entire con.
Oh yeah.
I basically got B coming in and A going out, and I know so many people who were, I mean, that was I've never been so sick in my life as that con. I mean, I taught my classes with 102 fever. I go back to, I mean, there's a reason I didn't stay up drinking with those guys that night was because I was like literally having the flu, you know, and that was the crazy con for that. I mean, it's like everybody got sick. After that, they started providing vitamin C.
Okay, noted. People, you've had it live. If you're going to ReaperCon, vitamin C is a necessity.
That's every con, yeah.
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 That one was just worse. That was when they started doing them in October, and nobody was ready for flu season, you know. But since they've been in August, it's been a lot better.
So,
oh, yeah.
Let's keep on the topic of convention, but move away from ReaperCon because I'm pretty sure most of you have done other conventions of some sort.
Oh yeah.
What is your weirdest experience at any convention?
Oh, me! I got one! Okay, some people already know about this story, but this story is like absolutely hysterical. Okay, so, LVO a few years ago, Brice, you're going to remember this. You're going to die laughing because you're going to remember. So my class was getting ready to start. It was around, like, I want to say 9 in the morning. I get there a few minutes before. There's a couple of guys already there in the class, right? So the way the classroom is set up in LVO, we each had our own teaching rooms that we were able to use throughout the duration of the entire con, thus being able to leave our class stuff there, not have to worry about it, whatever. Now, it was always the classrooms were always locked for overnight, and then weren't opened up again until the morning, right? Security does it. Anyway, so the way the classroom was set up was there was one big long table for all my students to sit at, and then there were on the other side of the table, there was 2 tables that were formed in an L shape, okay? So on this, like say this table here had all my handouts and supplies for my classes. Yeah, Viking knows about this too. He's like, might want to buckle up. This is going to get wild. And then there's, in the long part of the L, Brice is already dying. He knows what's coming. And then the long part of the L was another table, which consisted of, the water dispenser, some cups, some napkins, what have you. Okay? So keep that in one special table in mind. All right? I have my back to that water table. I'm gathering up the handouts and everything to give to the students, and I'm, greeting the other 2 guys that were there. So how's your day? How's everything going? Did you drink too much last night? Did you see some strippers? Because it's Vegas, whatever. So while I'm sitting there, doing all that sorting out, there was this one guy that just pops up in my peripheral view out of nowhere. And I sat there to him, and I'm thinking maybe he's there for the class. And I just didn't see him until sudden, So then I turned around and I said, oh, hi, are you here for the class? And then next thing you know, he drops his cell phone. He picks it up. He doesn't look at me, mind you. Doesn't answer me. No, nothing. All right? So he sits there and he gets on his phone. And then he just darts right out the other exit door. And I was like, I wore deodorant, I showered, I'm clean. What was it? Something I said? Was it my accent? What happened here, right? So I turned around and I said to the 2 guys who I actually personally knew also, I turned around and I said, does someone want to tell me what the F just happened here? And then one of the guys goes, he was sleeping under that table. He was doing what now? Right? So wait a minute. This isn't the funniest part yet. All right? I'm known as one of those people that if something weird can happen to them, it happens. Right? Here we go. Now here we go. And so on Facebook, all of us instructors had a chat. So that way, if one of us needed something, we just say it in the group chat, like, I'd like more plates, please, or something. And then somebody in that chat sees it and then gets stuff over to you. So when I go into the chat, I turn around and I said, I thought that these rooms got closed for overnight. And Seth goes, well, yeah, why? What's up? And mind you, Seth was located in the Hobby Lounge area, which is where the painting competition was held and where the paint and take was. My friend Kelly was painting a Warhammer figure in the paint and take area part. Now keep that in mind for a second. I love Kelly. She's a sassy blonde version of me. I love her. She's wonderful. Anyway, so Seth sees it's text. He goes, it was. Why? So I turn around and I said, well, some dude was sleeping under one of my tables. So apparently there was a security guard in that room with him. And Kelly hears Seth say to the security guard, without mentioning names or anything, turns around and says, hey, so in one of the classrooms, apparently someone was sleeping under the table and just popped up out of nowhere and left the room. Kelly turns around and she's painting. That sounds like something that would happen to Lynn. And Seth goes, that's exactly where it was. So then what happened was the next year when classes were being advertised, the people who knew about the story turned around and said, okay, so the class costs this much. So how much extra would I have to pay if I wanted to sleep under one of the tables? Or if I wanted to, instead of paying for hotel, because hotel in Vegas is expensive during Chinese New Year, what if I just wanted to sleep in your classroom instead? Could I do that? Is that like, no?
He just kind of wondered, did he like duck down before security came, get up, and just that was how he was paying for? He couldn't afford the whole thing. Or?
It was just hysterical. I don't know whatever happened with the man. The man just like walked out the emergency exit door and out of my life. I never seen him since. I don't know how he's doing. Did he sleep well that day? Did he eat breakfast after? I don't know anything.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
How did you, teach your class after that? Would you be like, the whole class be like...
It was hysterical. Well, when everybody else came into the class, of course, the other two guys that were there with me, they had to tell the story. They were like, hey, guys, so funniest thing, check this out, and whatever. So we ended up all laughing about it and everything, too. But, yeah, it was... he should have at least stayed for the class or something. I don't know. It was just, I don't know what happened with the man. I hope he ate breakfast or something after. I don't know what happened with him.
We had any more strange, weird stories? I should say the next weird story.
I've only been to ReaperCons, so...
It could be a weird story at ReaperCon too.
I'm not a big ReaperCon or big con guy, so I typically just go to ReaperCon.
I feel like I should get a ribbon or something. Was I really the only one with that weird of a story?
Well, yeah, it's...
Andrew, you gonna sculpt me a medal?
My problem is I'm never done with my entries, so I'm always locked in my hotel room trying to finish my mini before the deadline, so I never get to see anybody.
Okay. Geoff, you was about to say something?
I worked at some cons as in the operations in the back hallway for guest support, but they make you sign an NDA, so I can't tell you the funny stories.
Really?
Technically, can you just can't tell us convention, location, or name of the person?
But I can tell you some people are very desperate for their coffee. That's about as far as I can go.
Oh yeah.
No, Geoff, I'm invested now. You just went from season 1 to season 3, and now you're not telling me the rest of the story.
No.
You can't have this.
No. He didn't do season 1 to season 3. He did season 1 to season 7.
You can't do that to people, Geoff. Come on.
What can I say?
So what he's really saying is he's got great stories, but he can't tell us in public. But if we buy him a beer at the con, we might find out about this.
Some other time, definitely possible. And ask me about the time that I parked a tank in a 5-star hotel for a convention.
Dude, come on!
So, do you have any hobby-related questions?
Was the tank supposed to be there?
Yes.
Okay.
I mean, I wasn't going to ask what's the weirdest thing you've ever done for the hobby, but I don't know if I can talk in a tank in a hotel, 5-star hotel.
I did a tour that was a year long, and I took a little painting kit with me. And in that 1 year, I managed to spend a grand total of 20 minutes painting one Reaper Lizardman Tyrant with his sword raised up. And yeah, that was kind of a slow productivity year, let's put it that way.
Drug that kit with you everywhere.
Yeah, right, in the hopes.
It was reassuring to know that it was back there in my bed space. If I ever, the stress got a bit high and I needed to go find something else to do, I could always go and bust out some paint and slap it on a Reaper Mini. But,
I have to go check something quick. I'll be right back. I'm sorry.
I would say that the weirdest painting thing I ever did, really, though, was for ReaperCon last year. I was painting this dark sword figure that was the one I painted with a tartan on it. And I started working on it, but my family was going on this trip to Scotland. So I ended up packing up the figure and taking it with me. Actually, Brice helped me finish that figure at ReaperCon. Got to Scotland, and every time we would go to a new hotel, I'd set it up. So I ended up we stayed in this Victorian place, and there was this very ornate, I don't know even what you would call it, thing. And I set up all my paints on it, and I busted out the figure to paint, and I snapped the leg off. So I then spent the next week or so trying to find tools, pins, all that stuff to put this figure back together. So yeah, so I was painting a Scottish tartan on his figure in Scotland, but it was broken, so I wasn't painting it.
Oh no.
Yeah. So in the end, I got back, pinned it, jumped on the plane to Texas, and Brice helped me repair some of the damage and put some water effects on the base, and we put it into the competition still wet. Little waves slowly collapsing as the thing dried on the table. Yeah, actually Tish Walter was one of the judges on that. She very politely said that it could have used some cleanup around the edge as the waves were doing their thing. Yeah.
That's actually really cool. So, anybody else, what's weird things you've done for the hobby?
I can't really think of anything weird I've done. Weird things have happened to me, but like, come on. As you
I
heard.
have painted on an airplane on the way to a competition because I really needed to finish.
How would you get control?
Gotta do what you gotta do.
Just imagine the turbulence. Oh, crap.
I'm desperate. I had to do it.
Did you get any polite feedback?
The lady was. Sometimes I'm a brush licker, and the lady was very concerned.
Yeah.
So I got a talking to about that. So.
I mean, so how does that sound when somebody gives you a talking to about licking brushes? How does that sound?
It's like, yeah, you're probably right. Thank you.
Right? You don't know me. You don't know my life. You don't wear these chains.
I promise you, I only paint with edible paints.
That's right.
This one's bubblegum. You want to try?
You want to try it?
So somewhere Aaron is like, oh.
Right. That was me. No, wait. Oh, that's a funny thing too that some people don't know about. He's right about why he does it, but like at conventions, he's always like Brice was the night before sitting there painting his butt off trying to get ready for a competition, and when he does, he paints all night in the bathroom.
Yeah, I've done that too. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, but he's right as to why. The bathroom usually always has the best lighting.
Yeah.
So he ends up spending all night the night before painting in the bathroom. So if you ever want to look for Aaron, and you're like, oh my God, I gotta tell him something, just look for him in his hotel, in his bathroom, and that is where he will be.
Okay, so we have an interesting question. If you had to pick one model or one thing that you put a lot of emotion into, what was that piece or model that you created? And which means the most to you? So basically that is a sculpting or painting question.
I know one that I will be painting in the future that will mean a lot to me. And that is, it's by Dark Sword. Let me see if I can show it to you. I'm sorry. Here, look at my arm. Yay! Okay, so this is a Dark Sword, the Kitty Pirate, and it was I believe, a ReaperCon piece one year, right? And I'm gonna paint it like my cat that I had. She passed away from cancer, and her name was Scutch. So I'm going to paint it up like her. And actually, I'll tell you the God's honest truth. I put this whole piece together years ago. This has been sitting on my shelf of shame. Like, real shame. The shame is real over there. The shame is real over here. The shame is real in multiple cabinets out there. You know? But yeah, this has been in my shelf of shame for years. So.
I just hang mine out for everyone to see.
You what?
I didn't my shame for everyone to see.
Oh, right. You're like, yeah, mine's over there. No, I know. Yeah. So that's going to mean a lot to me. I know. And then stuff that I've painted, I don't know. I think there's like a few that's come around as we've gone along and stuff. And I just can't think of one like off the top of my head right now.
So I have this one.
For somebody. Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, go ahead.
Come on.
Somebody came in and asked me to paint a figure that I didn't even really clue in that I had. It was one of those Signs of the Zodiac figures that Reaper has, like the 12 of the Zodiac. And I had bought out the inventory of a small miniature store. I bought all their old Reaper inventory that they couldn't sell. So I ended up with, 500 or 600 figures, older ones. And this guy found it, and when he saw it, his eyes lit up, and he was like, "Taurus is my sign." And he then proceeded to pick out every Bones Minotaur that I had, and in the end, he came up with his project idea. He wanted these things built, and I'm looking at this Taurus, and if you're not familiar with her, she's got like this sort of interesting Bollywood-style pose going on, and refer to her as the girl cow because she's got like Minotaur horns and this kind of thing, and it was a weird thing because as I was painting it, I realized that this guy he got inspired by the model, and he wanted me to paint it up so that he could have it on his desk as like kind of an inspiration thing. And so I ended up putting a galaxy style base on it. So it's like, people do those galaxy cloaks. I did a galaxy base, and I painted it with OSL like she was holding one star in her fingers. And somehow, as I'm painting this thing that initially looked to me like a monstrosity, I kind of fell in love with her as I went. And I got this feeling of her being like this, this inspirational piece. And when the guy saw it, he kind of loved it and took it home with him. And it's not beautiful. It's not a beautiful result. I'll post it on my artist alley so people can see it. But something just gripped me about it because the guy loved it. Like, he loved the figure. He had a reason that he wanted it. And I felt really inspired by that one.
It's almost like you learned to see the model through his eyes.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. I saw it in a different way after I started thinking about him and where he was coming from. And the sculpt started to speak to me after a while and got some personality.
So for me, it's this piece. So you guys might recognize it. I actually...
Oh, yeah.
This is probably the best thing I've ever sculpted, in my opinion.
Really
it
cool.
is the Reaper Chaos Toad Sorcerer. I actually teared up a bit when I found out they chose it for the current quarter Facebook contest that's going on right now. I wasn't expecting that, and the fact that one of the fans chose it just blew me away. So I'm really excited about that. So this miniature was the first time I was actually approached by a miniature company to do a piece. Ron actually came to me and asked me for a set of these. He asked me what I wanted to do, and that we sat there and we talked about it, and I told him these are my favorite, creatures. I love from a DM's perspective, I've been using these guys for years, right? And to be able to, and he said, well, why don't you work with Izzy on that? And to be able to work with, it was the first time I ever worked with a concept artist. It's the first time I didn't have to come up with everything on my own, but yet it was a true collaboration. Izzy and I worked together and kind of came up with the idea, and then she kind of left as a bit of a rough sketch and let me go the rest of the way and figure it out. And I just really love the miniature. I have yet to paint it myself. It was going to be my ReaperCon entry for this year, and or next year. And I've been kind of too chicken. I've been painting the other ones, the other two Chaos Toads. I like as well, but this one is the one that it's got a. I have to put the best paint job I can on this thing when I get there. I know what I can see it in my head what it looks like, but I have yet to paint it, and it's blowing me away that all these people are out there. There's 70-some people taking part in that event right now, and the fact that I'm going to see 70-some renditions of this guy is just causing me to shake. I can't get over it. I'm so excited to see what everybody does with them. And last year, painted it, and a couple people have been painting them for ReaperCons, and it's the first time I've actually had a miniature that really people have connected with and started doing and painting. I'm seeing it around places. So I mean I've had a few, but I mean this one for sure. So I'm pretty excited about it. Yeah, it's about one of my babies, my little baby.
That's actually really awesome. So, what about you, Brice?
For me, it was this training day one.
Oh my God, that is the best one, of the best paint jobs ever.
Oh yeah.
So
sorry,
everybody loved that one.
I had it ready for. I had it. The year before I was playing. That was my entry, and I actually went to ReaperCon, and I just wasn't quite finished. And Aaron Lovejoy and everybody says, "Hey, it's not done. You can't enter it." And normally I can stay up all night and squeeze it out. I just had too much to do to finish it, and it wasn't where I wanted. And so I had some old miniatures I was able to enter, but I didn't get to really enter anything that year, and so I was really bummed. But then got Joe Orteza gave feedback, and Aaron and everybody there was able to give feedback, and so then I spent the next year finishing it, and I was still turning it in just before finishing it. Seth and I were at the table doing weathering on it. And then I had to run over and try to make the deadline to get it entered, and I'd always wanted it had been a long time goal to get a Sophie, and finally got one with that, and that was.
I mean, it's a beautiful piece there.
And it was pretty cool too, because I ended up with Best of Show, and I've always gone to Golden Demons and everything, and I've gotten awards. But it's always been silver or bronze. I've never broken into the gold, on the big things. So I think it was just a very good thing.
Yeah, it was my favorite pick for that year. I love that one. Man, that was amazing.
I mean, it's really, really nice. Maybe you can share some pictures of your work on your channel up so people can see it.
That is in. That
it is in
there.
So. Okay, that's actually really, really cool. Sorry, I've just Okay, I'm supposed to ask, does Christina know she's on Twitch?
Yeah. Hey, Christine, you realize
Did you
that we're
realize
doing a panel, and if you do your video, you'll be on Twitch.
You look very nice.
She's gone.
No. You're Shanghai. Come back, Christine.
Right, you are, girl. You can't be doing that.
I'm gonna ask you questions now.
Come on now. There
So
you
now
are.
that you're here, you're getting to be part of the panel. You've been Shanghai, so let's ask Christine questions.
So you've been boarded, so we need the. So what is your favorite? Ask her the question again.
So,
Oh, she doesn't have a way of talking right now. Her audio's been a little screwy.
girl, we'll get you. We'll get you. We'll get you. For paying us a visit, though. I mean, I did say something weird was going to happen. Did I not say something weird was going to happen? Every channel today, something weird has happened. So, the audience found it hilarious. Okay, apparently Kilted Verkin's brain dead.
He's
So
really
he's up to
tired.
himself.
He took 9 classes over the last 3 days.
Ooh, okay, yeah, that's a lot. So, if you could pick, if you could do a diorama, any topic without any price limit, what project would you really want to do?
What was the question? I didn't hear. I'm so sorry.
If you could do a diorama of any topic, no price limit. I mean, you could get anything you want to do this diorama. What would be the topic, and how would you present it?
Confidential.
I mean, I have one in mind that's like comedic, you know, because like I grew up in Italian culture. So there's this Forge World dragon that actually was purchased for me as a gift by my friends Chris and Laura, and they're friends of mine from Canada too, and they're like family. They're wonderful, and they got me the Carmine dragon from Forge World, right? And Carmine is also an Italian name. So I said I'm going to paint him up as Carmine, the cannoli dragon. And he will be the dragon guardian of cannolis. And then right. Now, hear me out on this. Hold on now. So here's the dealio. So the Italian flag is red, white, and green, right? Give me 2 colors that contrast each other, red and green. So in other words, I could sit there and do red dragon with dark green shading, or even saying somewhat the other way around, right? And then the belly would be like the white, or like more like an off-white, but it'll still count as the same thing, right? Yeah. Then sit there and put him on something so that he can guard. I'll also sculpt a cannoli and a meatball. This is in planning. This is going to happen. I don't know when, because I have so much other stuff to paint commission-wise. But I got a plan. Believe that. I like comedy.
So mine for that one is, do you guys know the Mystic Portal that Reaper put out that I sculpted? Kind of. It got kind of trashed and redone in China.
Yeah.
But that was actually not a commission from Reaper. That was mine and all mine. And it grew out of, I was sculpting the slot, the Chaos Toads. And I had this vision of the big one that's striding forward, coming through a portal I was watching Stargate while I was sculpting those things. And I had this idea of that guy stepping through a Stargate portal with his arms out wide and some shocked wizards going, what the hell did I just do? You know what I mean? And so that's actually why I sculpted that portal. I mean, that's where it came from, is I couldn't get it out of my head. I had to sculpt it. I started figuring it out. And I actually had an old pizza cutter blade, which is what I sculpted it on. That was my armature. And so the original one had a more closed portal, so we redid it later on to make it more dynamic. But so that's still in the back of my head as a diorama that I would like to do someday, is to have that guy stepping through that portal and surprising the hell out of a wizard on the other side.
Cool.
Okay. I'm not sure if you actually heard the question, Christine, so I will ask it again.
Yeah, please do. Thank you.
If you could do any diorama to any theme, and there was no limit on what you could buy for any resource, any miniature, you in print, out of print, whatever. You could even have it personally sculpted. What would it be, and what would be the central point of that diorama?
So I had a diorama idea that I wanted to do for ReaperCon that I never ended up doing. Um, of I like this idea of more fine art in miniature form, and so I wanted to do a diorama of this girl who was like like sculpting out of herself, and there was all these price tags on all the sculpts around her on the work table and stuff. Um, just as a like a way of saying that we as artists are just putting ourselves into each piece that we're making and then selling that. But you guys get to take it home and then like make it your own, and then it's a collaboration. I think it's one of the main reasons that I do what I do, and if I could make a diorama that said that, I'd be happy.
Wow.
That is the
What
neatest.
about-
Sorry. That is the neatest part about being a sculptor, is that you get to be a part of all these other amazing artists' visions, and so it starts with Izzy and it ends with you, and there's a string of artists in the middle, and that made it happen, and we all do it together. It's the only art form I've ever seen that is this collaborative, and it truly elevates to some sort of it's a community art partnership thing, right? I just love that. I love wondering what people are going to do with things as I'm working on them.
Yeah,
And you
exactly.
get. So Geoff, same question to you.
Yeah, I have several projects planned out that I've been trying to accumulate the pieces for them, and a couple of them are really grand in the sense that there's so many miniatures involved, undead in a swarm around the light source. And but one of the things I'm really interested in is I've been learning to play a game called Infinity, which is this sort of cyberpunk sci-fi game, and I'm really interested in fairies. And I think it's Aurora Miniatures does these 90 millimeter approximate sized fairies that are actually more like sci-fi cyberpunk styles, and they went on sale over the summer. So my dream project is actually, it arrived in the mail a couple of days ago, and I've got this idea for how I'm going to assemble it. But it's one of those things where I did a project where I took a very well-known Reaper Paladin. Can't remember what her name is off the top of my head now. It's eluding me. She's very well-known. She's got her sword across her front. She's got her shield up. And I took that and I chopped it to pieces and I mounted it on a horse, all metal parts. And Finari, that's what she's called, Finari. And it took me about 10 years to learn the skills necessary to actually assemble the parts, resculpt the pieces, sculpt the chainmail, all those things, sculpt the cloth. So I have a feeling that this particular project, it's not something that I can just buy the pieces and the parts. I've got to kind of earn my way in the skills to actually get to where I want to go with it. So there's some sculpting I've got to learn, and some painting techniques that I've got to learn. But actually, I feel really fortunate. I've got the key component, which is these resin cyber fairies, and yeah, that's the project I've got in mind. Years from now, look for me on a beach in Costa Rica, still trying to figure out how to sculpt the pieces.
You just moved to making it out of sand by that point.
I'll hire somebody. I'll get my kid to do it, and I'll direct.
Fantastic.
And that sounds awesome. So that leaves us with you, Brice.
All right, I'm actually working on that project right now. I'm very slow, and so my hope is that I'll have time to finish it. And so I've been working on, let's see. So I'm doing this throne room scene. So it'll be about 11 inches tall.
I
and
quit.
I've been working on it. So I've got lots of it done already. So I'm just hoping I can get it done and painted so I can go to Adepticon at some point. So.
Wow, that's a project enough.
So But my life just went easier because I found some of that. But I had to buy another box of GW stuff because I found out there was some of the guards. The original box that I bought, they were running. It's like, great, I'm going to have to convert them all. So I already started cutting them apart. And then I realized there was a set of them standing. So it's like, okay, I'm switching because I don't want to finish sculpting them all. So, so I had to buy another box.
That's actually really cool. So, I think we're going to have a bit of fun. You guys have heard all the questions. You've all answered them. How about we turn the tables on Christine and you guys get to actually now give her the questions that you have been asked. And I think we'll start with what is your funniest experience at ReaperCon?
Oh no.
This one is both tragic and hilarious. And infamous at this point. I was getting some advice from James Wobble at his table about basing and stuff, and he told me to go buy this fluorescent paint. So I did. And I go over there and I open it, and he comes to my side of the table, kneels down next to me, and I go to put the paint out on the plate so we could work. And the bottle explodes, and red paint goes all over his table, all over his, like, you know, Golden Demon winning, like, stack of minis. Just, I was mortified. It was awful. And it was all over me, it was all over him, it was all over the table. It was so terrible. He just stood up and walked away, and I didn't see him again for like, I don't know, like 30 minutes or an hour, while I was sitting there trying to clean up. And he came back down, and I was just apologizing profusely, and he was like, well, okay, let's inspect the damage. And he starts, you know, touching up all of his minis that got splattered paint on them. And he's like, at least it's red, like it looks like blood, so some of this is okay. But he was like, because of you, I'm instituting a new rule that no one will come to my table with a bottle of red paint ever again. So. And
that's when you know you've made it.
Henceforth known as the bombing at Fort Wapple. That is my infamous ReaperCon story.
At least you know James will never forget who you are.
Yeah, right.
There's like so much that's ever happened at Fort Wapple. Fort Wapple is a wonderful place.
I heard that it's a land of where dreams come true.
Yes.
And time is irrelevant.
Yes.
I've also heard if you need to go somewhere quickly, don't stop at Fort Wapple.
No. You know, when I worked in the music industry, I thought the NAMM show was the one that you didn't want to go anywhere when you had to go to bed. Okay, so when I worked in the music industry, the NAMM show happened twice a year. And basically, not only did you go there for networking, like you would for like a convention now, those of us who were in the industry, but also if you owned a music store and stuff like that, then that is where also a lot of companies go to sit there and either, if you're a musician, like I was always a musician, and I am too, is like when they're going to present a new guitar and they want you to endorse their product or whatever, they show it off to you. That's when they show it to you, is at the NAMM show. Or if you own a music store, like I also used to do, then they sit there and that's when they want to show you all the new products coming out for you to buy and put as inventory in your store. So every time in the NAMM show, if you have to go to the bathroom, the minute, the absolute second that you feel an inkling that you might have to pee, or the other way around, you go now. Because it'll be at least 30 minutes before you finally make your way to the bathroom. Because they're always like, oh, hey, and usually they remember you, especially if you've gone to multiple of the shows, and hey, you want to see, we have these new guitar picks coming out, we have these new strings coming out, come check it out, you want to play on this bass, you want to play on these keyboards, blah, 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 and then everybody wants to stop you for something. In our industry, it's more, you don't want to stop, because then you get excited seeing somebody, or they get excited seeing you, and then you're talking, and next thing you know, you never go into the bathroom. You might as well wear diapers after a while. Forget it. When we get old, God knows we'll probably all be doing that together anyway, right? I mean, hey, be like, hey, did you soil yours? Yeah, me too. All right, let's make a run for it. You know, it's just like.
So I finally thought of my actual funniest. I didn't really have a funny one before, but one of my funniest things from ReaperCon, honestly, was when I brought my wife the first time. Usually I've been going for years by myself with some buddies of mine, and my wife finally was able to go with, and she came with it was a couple of years ago, wasn't it, Christine? That this came for the first time.
Yeah,
And I go walking into ReaperCon, and this is pretty typical for me going into ReaperCon. I have a lot of friends. And I walk in, and I got hugged by Maury. And I walked 5 more feet, I got hugged by Aaron. And then I got hugged by Christine. Then I got hugged by... And we were walking through ReaperCon, and I was being greeted by everybody and everyone that I knew. And Cheryl hugged me. And people goes... And my wife just... As we finally got to our hotel room, she goes, I think it's a good thing I've come with finally. You're being hugged by just a few too many young ladies.
Right? She like... I'm going to have to keep an eye on you. You got them lustrous spikes going on in your hair. Them ladies be liking that, huh? They liking that dad bod, ain't they?
Last year I tried to hug your wife, and she gave me like the stare of death, like don't come near me.
She is not much of a hugger.
How funny.
Nope. She's got that programmer brain. This is like, nope, that does not compute.
So, Christina, if you could paint any miniature in the world, doesn't matter if it's out of production, a miniature you can't get because it's out of production, it's too expensive, what miniature would it be?
That's a really good question. I don't know. Like all of my favorite minis are available. So, and the cost of minis has come down so much that nothing is really like too unreasonable if you want to save.
You can include time though, so you would have free time to do it. So you'd have like a time turner.
Yeah,
like and you could just paint it.
If I could paint Dance of Death, like properly, like well, I would love to paint that one.
That was mine too. Good job. Woohoo!
Yeah.
I shouldn't say that I've actually got that miniature then, should I?
We're gonna have to fight over it. Christine will get one, I'll get one.
I've got one. I just haven't had time to paint it.
Brice, I'll send it, you can paint it and then send it back.
There we go.
I'm always mortified that Julie will see it and just be like,
No.
Okay, so guys, you've heard the questions. What questions have you got for Christina? I mean, you can ask her anything right now. She's in the hot seat. Come on.
We can probably introduce yourself, where you're from, and...
Oh yeah, please introduce yourself, Christina. Yeah.
So I'm Christine Van Patten. I currently live in Edna, Texas, which is a tiny little town in the middle of nowhere. About an hour and a half from Houston. So about 5 hours from Reaper. But yeah, I've got a husband and 2 little kids.
Aww.
Adorable children.
Aww.
A 3-year-old girl and a 4-year-old boy. And I've been sculpting for, I guess, 4 or 5 years, but professionally since Bones 3. Reaper bought my first mini, I think.
Oh, that's so amazing. Yeah, it's true. Yeah, she does good work. You guys should all like be following her. If none of you are following her, then shame on you.
Yep.
Fungal Queen. Beautiful
Of
figure.
course, I think Bones 5 is where you really rocketed it up. I mean, what'd you get, about half the sculpts in Bones 5? It seems like
No
it anyway.
kidding, dude.
Yeah, I think I tallied it up. I don't know, it was like 40 or 50 minis in like 3 months. It was ridiculous.
What a miniatures.
Okay, what you gotta understand, though, is that she did this while raising a toddler and a little boy at the same time.
Yep.
I mean, it's like how you ever slept, I have no idea. It's like it's crazy. I mean, I don't know how you can sculpt with Juniper jumping out. I mean, you're like Juniper with one hand sculpting with the other or something. I have no clue how you get that done.
Duct tape in a closet. Sorry. I'm sorry.
Did I say that out loud?
Oops. No.
I'm lucky now the boy goes to preschool, so I just have Juniper during the day. But but yeah, she's still, you know. And girls are much more talkative. Like, boys will just go play, right? They'll just go find some Legos or Tonka trucks. They're fine. But she wants to interact. She wants to have conversation. She wants to show you things. Like, she needs attention.
I've actually got one of your sculptures on my wall behind me.
Aw, which one?
The Fungus Queen.
I was actually just painting that one. I was sitting there painting that one while I was listening to you guys.
Okay. So this is a question for everybody. I've just got it messaged to me. What is your favorite genre of music? Lynn, blaming you for that one.
I play and I listen to progressive metal, symphonic metal, and melodic death metal.
Noise PK.
And my favorite bands are Iron Maiden and Dream Theater.
Nice.
I think you would get along with Mike Disney really well.
Yeah, Mike is one of my closest friends.
Okay, there you go.
Mike's my boy.
I'd have to say, I tend to gravitate toward almost anybody I can sing with. Who, you know, so I've been really getting into a lot of. I love a lot of acapella bands. Just recently, I've been really going for Home Free and Avi Copland. And I was in Independent Talks for quite a while, but I don't know that I've kind of come out. I've been getting to Shepherd lately. I mean, I switch around so much. Like I said, I can be metal one week, and the next week I'm finding it's whoever's got a sound that I haven't heard before and is really doing interesting things. The second somebody uses auto-tune, I'm out the door, though. I mean, it's just I want to hear your real voice, and I want to be able to sing along with it. I'm used to sing bass a lot when I was younger, and I love good bass singers.
Okay. What about you, Christine?
I have very eclectic tastes in music. I would say mainly I listen to pop music, but I love rap, country, jazz, like movie soundtrack music, the Beach Boys, like you name it, I like it. Techno, dubstep, I'm into it.
I like dubstep. I like some dubstep too.
I'm same as Christine. I've got just the most. If you look at my playlist, it's the most eclectic thing ever. I mean, I like big band stuff all the way to Depeche Mode to everything that Christine said. I just like all over the board. I just like, just good music. I guess I don't know.
Oh, I love pentatonics too, Andy.
Yeah, me too. I like the.
They blew me away when they were first out there. But honestly, I was so attracted when Abby left the band. I was like heartbroken. And then he started producing some of the most amazing music I've ever heard in his newest stuff. And it's just like, okay, so he left for a reason. Go listen to Change on the Rise. It's just unbelievable. Some of what he's been putting out lately has been fantastic.
Well, I find that I am stuck in the music of my youth with a bit of nostalgia there. So I tend to listen to things that, like concerts that I saw live and that sort of thing. I played piano for like 12 years. And so it all boils down to bands that start with M. So that's Metallica, Megadeth, Maiden, Mozart, and Supertramp.
Oh my god!
There
I want to
might be some
sculpt.
alphabetical problems there, but you get the general idea.
Same thing from my high school. I want to sculpt Eddie so bad, but he's trademarked. I totally would want to sculpt him do the trooper sculpt.
I have an Eddie
Why
tattoo.
wouldn't you?
That's my Eddie.
There you go.
That's one of my that's one of my pieces. That's Eddie on there. And then also on Redbubble, it's a website. It's an on-demand printer. That's where we get our merch from. But also, I got an Iron Maiden mask with all different Eddies
cool.
on it. I just got it in the mail yesterday. Excitement! Hashtag, it was a good day. I showed my children. They were like, did you get one for me? I'm like, no. Mama gets the Eddie mask. Thank you. I also have Iron Maiden Converse style sneakers with Eddie on them as the trooper.
Lynn, go on YouTube and take a look and search for the two cellos, the number 2 cello, CELLOS.
Yeah.
The trooper.
Yeah.
They did. If you haven't seen it, it's an amazing cover. I just love that they blend the 1812 Overture and the trooper together, and Maiden themselves came out and was talking about having them come to one of their shows once when they're in Europe because they loved them so much. I was reading an article about it.
Oh yeah, like Bruce Dickinson is seriously one of the most talented human beings in the world, and he's one of my favorite people in the whole world. He's very accomplished, very, very smart, and I just absolutely love him. And speaking of, because Geoff, you were saying you like Metallica. I don't know if you've ever heard of the group Von Canto. They're an a cappella group. You should hear their version of Metallica's Battery.
Battery is awesome. Great song. I'll have to check that out. What were they called again?
Van Canto. It's spelled VAN and then, space, so to speak, CANTO.
Yeah, got it. Cool.
They're actually really good.
What channel are we streaming on?
Metalhead. Lynn's. So,
Lynn's Twitch.
favorite movie and why?
Oh my God, we have so many.
Probably The Fifth Element is it's way up there on my list.
You're my new hero. That's what I was going to say too.
I have
Lord of the Rings director's cut.
I'm a big Lord of the Rings, Star Wars. I love Scott Pilgrim versus the World, Wedding Crashers,
Princess Bride.
Thank you, Brice.
History of the World, Mel Brooks movies. Yeah, I love a lot of movies. Oh my God, Crazy Rich Asians. That's a great movie too. I have a lot of favorites.
Ideal vacation place.
Sleeping.
Somewhere without people.
Somewhere I could paint
Back of Australia.
On my kayak in a lake in northern Wisconsin, with no one around me. Yeah.
Yeah.
I just
I used to go on vacation down to Costa Rica every year, or every couple of years, and people don't realize how good the tropical fish are in freshwater. There's freshwater fish there that will blow away the reef fish, and snorkeling in the river, snorkeling the river with my daughter, looking at those fish. That's my happy place.
That's my dream birding vacation some year. Let's go to Costa Rica bird watching.
First time I did that, we went out looking at birds. I saw 30 species the first morning. By the end of the third day, I'd seen 90 new species. It was just remarkable.
Yeah, I'm a big bird watcher. My wife always laughs every time we go somewhere new, some new biome or whatever. That's I spend most of my time bird watching. I'm glued to my binoculars the whole time. Because it's like there's new stuff here. I love bird watching. I use vacations as reasons to bird watch.
Christine, you were saying something.
Oh, I was gonna say, on the one hand, I would like just like a resort with no kids and
You're in those ages.
I don't have to cook or clean. That would be fantastic. But other than that, I would love to just see I'm all into art history, so I want to go to Pompeii. I've been to Greece, but I would love to go back.
You love Pompeii then.
Go to Machu Picchu. Just I want to go see all the things.
So,
A personal one might be Monte Sansovino at some point to see all
Yes.
all the all the art, and they have a big painting show that everybody goes to, and that would be a lot of fun. But I do like going outdoors with my boys and my family and find beautiful places in nature. I mean, alone, right? So, well, mostly alone. So.
I'd always recommend Australia. I mean, you've got the gorgeous freshwater fish and saltwater fish. I mean, you've got the Great Barrier Reef. You've got the birds.
And I've wanted to go to New Zealand also, see the Lord of the Rings locations, and they have the Septarian nodules.
Mm.
I believe Australia is where the red ochre pigment first originated, and from the clay there. And that would be really cool to go see.
Probably enjoy some of the cave paintings and such then. So, if you could pick any book that you wanted made into a movie, what would it be? And why? And this time I want the whys, people.
Wait,
It's
it
an
was
emphasis.
Dragon Riders of Pern, flaming dragons being ridden by people in a sci-fi movie.
That.
I mean, you don't even need to explain the why on that one. I mean, that is the why.
That's the one.
Yeah, that's a good word.
I would also like to see the David Eddings Millennium trilogy, just because I think it could be cut down a bit, but it's such a fantastic political, yet it's kind of like got that Games of Thrones without kind of all the scuzziness of Games of Thrones, with magic, and it's a unique magic system that's based, and yet the interplay with the church versus secular life, and kind of playing off of medieval Europe, and some of those interplays. I love that. It's a book that not a lot of people are reading. It was, what was it, early '90s or whatever, and a lot of people, some people really got into it. A lot of people don't even know about it anymore. But the David Eddings Millennium series is just. He had a follow up that was also as good, but I really love those, and I could see them making a great movie.
A Linium series?
Elenium. It starts.
E-L-E-N-I-U-M.
It starts out with the sapphire. It starts out with the Diamond Throne, and ends with the Sapphire Rose. It's 3 books. There's another one. There's the Tumuli series, which is a follow up. It's the same characters, just another adventure, right?
Yeah.
But what I love about it is the main character is not a boy or girl, who doesn't know anything about the world, grows up. It's like an old grizzled veteran paladin, essentially, coming home, who's already seen war and life and all. So it's like it starts out at 10th level and moves up from there, and then that's kind of the one thing I love about that series.
Yeah. Also known as the Sparhawk novels.
Yes. Sparhawk is the main character.
Yeah. Awesome series. I could actually see that being a one. Good night, Stephen. One of our moderators just went. So, what about the others? What would you like to see? What book?
I don't read a whole lot of fiction. I tend to read like psychology books in my spare time and like life books. I don't know, but there was a book I read in college called Ecotopia, and it's sort of like a George Orwell 1984 type thing, but it's more like environmentally focused. But I really like the exploring utopian, I guess, societies, and getting to see, you think everything would be perfect if just this and this and this wouldn't be a problem, right? but then you go and you explore that idea, and that results in all these other issues, that brings up all these other, problems that have to be dealt with. So I like that, just that exploration of like what is ideal, and even if we could make perfect, would we want to live in it?
That's
I think
a good point.
I had to really think about it, and I don't think I've seen that there's a movie about it. So if I missed it, forgive me, but I highly doubt. I Strahd.
There's not a movie about it, I agree. That could make, if it's done correctly, it'd make an
I
amazing
Strahd.
movie.
Yeah, both of them. That the I Strahd, and then the continuation of it, the War Against Azalin. They're Ravenloft books for those not familiar.
Ravenloft books.
Yeah, Ravenloft D&D.
Can we get a really good series of Percy Jackson movies, please?
Right? You're like, I'd like a redo.
Start it over.
What was the other one that was
right.
Knight of the Black Rose was that other Ravenloft book, right? That's
Which one?
the Knight of the Black Rose.
Yes,
The
with Lord
Death Knight
Stahl.
from
Yeah.
Dragonlance.
That's Lord Soft.
Yeah, that's a really good one as well. Yeah.
Lord Soft is one of my favorite D&D characters, I will admit.
Character. Yeah.
Yep.
Did like Artemis Fowl. I was excited that a movie came out, and then it was just disappointing.
Yeah, I heard a lot of people were disappointed in the movie. Especially those who read the book, because they're like, well, what the hell? I heard a lot of people
Well,
were
they
mad about
combined a
that.
couple characters into one character, but that was like really important to the whole. Yeah, I don't know.
Another one that would make a really good movie is the Bobiverse series. We are Legion, we are Bob. It's a sci-fi book that came out just a few years ago, and it's basically about, and it's actually not that far-fetched technology, but it's essentially about artificial intelligence based off of human brains that are loaded into supercomputers. The operating systems are actual human brains from people who were cryogenically frozen, later on becoming these supercomputers that then can replicate themselves into their spaceships, and they're exploring the universe. So it's these computer systems that can run and replicate themselves, and it comes across. It's basically the story of the first one, who this is done to, and his name is Bob. And so basically he goes across the galaxy replicating himself and exploring the universe, and everyone that he makes is still his own brain. So it's like everyone is Bob. And it's just a fantastic concept. It's actually based on real theories of how we'll expand through the galaxy. And there's a lot of political commentary. There's a lot of scientific commentary. The guy uses a lot of good real life science in it. And it's just a fascinating, and there's a lot of humor too. I mean, obviously, we are Legion, we are Bob. I mean, come on, and the whole series is called Bobiverse series, and it's fun. And on one world they go to I won't, no spoilers, but on one world that they go to, there's a primitive life force that's about to get sentience and stuff, and Bob becomes a god figure for them and stuff. It just, I mean, that kind of thing it's just funny as hell.
I have to say, I'm looking forward to the Dune remake coming out.
Oh, I want to see that so bad.
The spin-off miniatures that will come off of that, the Sardaukar and the spice worms and all that stuff. I think that's if what they did to Lord of the Rings in terms of incorporating the broader body of art about the Lord of the Rings into the films, if they pull off bringing that broader body of Dune art into the film.
So who's doing it?
I have no idea, but I've seen all these little teasers about it.
Is it a film or is it a series?
I'm not sure.
It's a series, I believe.
That's what I thought. It's going to be like is it HBO, or it's one of those that's kind of doing a Game of Thrones style of what I heard. So.
I only watch TV after it's already been published, and I don't have to wait for it, and I don't have to watch ads. So in 2 or 3 years' time, if it's out, I'll watch it, and then wait for the figures to come out from the spin-off.
It's a two-part adaptation.
Okay.
It's been filmed in Canada, Hungary, United Kingdom, United States. Director is Denis Villeneuve, so could be. Yeah. I can't find out who's actually producing it. Wait,
That's fine.
okay. So, I just realised the time. I do apologise for you guys because we went a lot more over time than was planned.
You can blame it on me.
So-
That's okay.
We enjoyed having you join us.
Yeah.
Yeah, true.
Yeah,
It was
thank
a
you
lot
for
of
joining
fun.
us. So, do you guys have any final words for the audience? Then we can chase Andrew off to bed.
Make
Yeah,
sure that you're having fun.
I'm about to turn into a pumpkin here, right? Yeah.
Yes, I say final words. Make sure that you're having fun when you're painting. Don't let anybody take that away from you. Because if you're not having fun, what's the point? And you're the one that needs to be happy with your work first. Don't worry about what everybody else is telling you.
Andrew, would you like to have some final words?
Not especially. Nope.
Please. Good night, let me go to bed now.
Yeah, I'm like my brain. It's like I hit a wall about 10 o'clock, and it was like going, wow, it's bedtime.
Okay, quarter past 10 already, yeah. Geoff, do you have any final words for our people?
Yeah, I just want to say thanks for including me. And my favorite saying when I'm teaching a class is, the only mistake you can make is not getting any paint on your figure. And that's the way I live.
Unless you're Christina and get a lot of paint on a lot of paints.
Yeah, get paint on other people's figures. That's a problem.
All
Even
good.
better. You get to share.
It's collaborative artwork.
Sorry. Brice, do you have any last words?
I just think the biggest thing is I think we need a lot more kindness, and I feel that at Reaper with everybody there, and if we concentrated more on the others' feelings and how to and kindness and doing kind things for others, I think we'd all be a lot better off.
Yeah. There's enough toxicity in the world, we don't need it in the community.
Agreed.
And our late comer decided to pop in and surprise Saul. Christina, do you have any words for our audience?
One of the things that I end up talking to people a lot about at ReaperCon is this idea that they see themselves as like hobbyists, that this is like a side pastime sort of thing, and I don't see it that way. Like, I think in all aspects, every part of the process, we're all artists. This is all an exploration of like our life experience, our experience together as a group, and I think that's important, that you don't devalue what you're putting into it, from any part of that process, as a sculptor, as a painter, as the art director, any part of the process. Like, we're all contributing to the same message and interpreting it through our own personal lens. We're asking difficult questions, and we're talking about ourselves. So yeah, don't devalue yourself.
That's actually thank you very much for those great words, everybody. I would like to thank our audience for joining us. And for hanging around. I apologize for losing track of the time. I'm sorry, but not sorry. Sorry.
She like, sorry, not sorry.
Yeah, I'm not totally sorry, but yeah, not sorry. Sorry.
I do gotta say, Lynn, I absolutely love your accent. I mean, I'm a linguist by training, and your accent just is fantastic. It's great.
Thank you.
I can listen to you talk all night.
Oh
really
my goodness, you guys are too much. I love you guys. You're wonderful. Thank you for having us. Thank you for letting me host this.
Yeah. Again, thank you for our panelists. Thank you to the audience, and thank you to the moderators for making this happen.
All right, now those of you who... Go ahead.
Yeah, thanks for the
Have a
moderators.
great night, everyone.
Good night.
So, those of you who are on the stream,
Good
hang
night,
in
everyone.
there. We're going to get ready to raid you guys over to Reaper Miniatures. They're currently streaming some Dungeons and Dragons. Thank you so much for joining us, and we will see you again. Don't forget, I will not be on Monday morning as it is a holiday, and I'd like to sleep. Sorry, not sorry. Hashtag still love you all. And we will see you Wednesday morning. Be safe and make good decisions. So now I'm going to get ready to raid us over. And that's going to end 7. All right, now make sure to tell your friends, drag them on over. If you're not already following Reaper Miniatures on Twitch, shame on you! And good night.